Chapter 1004. Murong did not know when it started, but he felt that his understanding of the chaotic celestial records had increased. Could it be because of the flame of primal chaos? Otherwise, in the chaotic secret ground, where the chaotic airflow was rampant, it was a place where the chaotic energy gathered. However, Murong's comprehension of the primal chaos celestial body record didn't increase at all. Regardless of whether it was because of the flame of primal chaos or not, it was a good thing that his understanding improved. This meant that Murong's physical body could not only break through to the next level, but also break through to the next level. It was even possible that he could break through to the heavenly king stage. Moreover, because the demon race could not enter the flame of primal chaos, Murong was safe. Therefore, he sat cross-legged in the flame of primal chaos to cultivate. At this time, the news of the divine weapon descending from the heavens had spread throughout the realm of the gods. Some of the human race's experts from Primeval College had disguised themselves and approached the demon race's cauldron. These people were very powerful. After disguising themselves as demon race members, as long as their souls were not seen, they would not reveal themselves. Or rather, if they didn't expose themselves, they wouldn't reveal their identities as humans. Moreover, there were too many demon race members around the cauldron. Who would notice a human among them? It really is Murong. Xiang Sungwu narrowed his eyes as he looked at Murong, who was sitting cross-legged in the flame of primal chaos. He was very pleased. Other than the people from Primeval College who recognized Murong, the people from the other colleges also recognized Murong. Of course, they would not do anything. However, it was not that they would not do anything, but that they could not do anything. After all, they could not do anything to the flame of primal chaos. Otherwise, would they have watched as Murong cultivated there, and even obtained the cauldron in the end? Even if they were all humans, they would not want Murong to obtain it, especially when Murong was from Primeval College. However, at this moment, they could only watch as Murong cultivated in the flame of primal chaos. Time flowed like water. Year after year passed by. After an unknown number of years, Murong, who had been cultivating with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes. A body at the level of a peerless divine artifact. He had broken through. After thousands of years of cultivation, his physical body had risen from Supreme Grade God Artifact to Supreme Grade God Artifact. He was regarded as the person with the strongest physical body in the history of the God Realm. There is no other. It could be said that no one had done it before or since. At this moment, Murong was still in the early stage of the Heaven Monarch realm. However, his chaos energy was hundreds of times purer and denser than it had been for thousands of years, and its power had become even more terrifying. If the power of three divine deity erupted at the same time, he could easily blow up a heavenly Emperor realm powerhouse. He even had the strength to fight against immemorial God realm experts. In fact, if Murong was not standing in the flame of primal chaos, everyone would be able to see the faint flame of primal chaos burning on the surface of his body. At this moment, Murong's flesh and bones contained traces of the flame of primal chaos. With a punch, he could even punch out the flame of primal chaos. Its power was extremely terrifying, and his combat power had increased exponentially. Just a little more, and the chaotic celestial record can reach the peak of the 5th level. At that time, I can directly enter the peak state of the Heavenly King realm. The deeper I go, the stronger my comprehension of the chaotic celestial record will be. Murong muttered to himself. Then, under everyone's gaze, he stood up and took a step forward, walking into the depths of the flame of primal chaos as if he was taking a stroll. In other words, he quickly approached the giant cauldron. Seeing Murong like a fish in water and not afraid of the flame of primal chaos, countless demons and human experts were shocked and could not help but gasp. Those were the flame of primal chaos, and he was not afraid at all? No, it should be said that the flame of primal chaos could not cause him any harm. Did he merge with the flame of primal chaos, Or did the flame of primal chaos already acknowledge him? If the flame of primal chaos acknowledged Murong-yu, did it mean that the giant cauldron acknowledged him? If the giant cauldron acknowledged him, then he would take the giant cauldron away. This was a divine artifact. For a moment, countless people looked at Murong-yu with murderous intent, wanting nothing more than to rush in and beat him to death. However, they could only be anxious. At this moment, under everyone's envious and jealous gazes, Murong-yu had already arrived outside the ancient cauldron and finally sat down cross-legged. Here, his comprehension of the chaotic celestial record reached its highest level. Years passed, and in the blink of an eye, thousands of years had passed. On this day, Murong-yu opened his eyes again, revealing a hint of joy. The peak of the 5th level of the chaotic celestial record. I feel that I can break through to the heavenly king realm now. Murong-yu laughed in his heart and could not help but want to break through. However, if he wanted to break through, he had to enter the Hichu Luoshu world. Or he could directly go to the chaotic secret ground to break through. Only there would be enough power for him to break through. Although he could directly enter the Hichu Luoshu world through the flame of primal chaos, he would not be able to get close to the giant cauldron after he broke through. This was because he could not place the teleportation point in the flame of primal chaos. If he appeared outside, as long as he dared to appear, the powerhouses of the monster clan would immediately kill him, and he would not have a chance to get close to the flame of primal chaos. Although the flame of primal chaos contained great power, it was too violent and could not be absorbed at all. In that case, let's go take a look at the giant cauldron and see if it can recognize him as its master. Murong-yu pondered for a moment, then immediately rose into the air and flew toward the giant cauldron. Is he ready to recognize him as its master? Seeing Murong-yu rise into the air, countless people looked over helplessly. I wonder if this kid can recognize the giant cauldron as its master? If he can, our primeval college will have another sacred weapon. The experts and big shots of the Desolate Academy were all looking at Murong-yu with flickering eyes. Every one of them had hopeful looks on their faces. The eyes of the other colleges and major forces were also sparkling, and no one knew what they were thinking. Only the Monster Clan's eyes were spitting fire, as if their beloved item was about to be taken away by Murong-yu. Since the flame of primal chaos had no effect on Murong-yu, Murong-yu quickly rushed to the top of the giant cauldron and finally stood on the edge of the ancient cauldron. At this moment, the sense of familiarity in Murong-yu's heart became even more intense. Previously, he thought that it was the flame of primal chaos that gave him this sense of familiarity, but now it was clearly not the flame of primal chaos, but the giant cauldron. Does this ancient cauldron really have something to do with me? Murong-yu thought to himself. With a thought, he began to fly around the giant cauldron. First, it flew around the top of the cauldron, then the body of the cauldron. After flying around the cauldron a few times, Murong-yu's brows furrowed. After circling the cauldron a few more times and looking at the entire cauldron, a look of shock appeared on his face. What is this guy doing? Is he actually sizing up this giant cauldron? Seeing Murong-yu's appearance, countless experts around the giant cauldron were puzzled. Isn't this the Yin-yang cauldron? Murong-yu couldn't help but exclaim. Previously, he couldn't see it clearly because of the black flame of primal chaos. However, after flying around it many times, he was immediately sure that it was the Yin-yang cauldron. However, he was right beside the giant cauldron. Why didn't the connection in his heart strengthen? Moreover, wasn't the Yin-yang cauldron Yin-yang fire? How did it become the flame of primal chaos in just a few years? Was that even possible? Murong-yu felt that it was impossible. However, this giant cauldron was clearly the Yin-yang cauldron. Murong-yu would never mistake it. Forget it. Let's try to recognize it as the owner first. As long as it recognizes me as the owner, I will naturally know whether it is the Yin-yang cauldron or not. Murong-yu flew up again and sat directly on the edge of the giant cauldron. Because of the giant cauldron's size, the edge was the size of a sacred mountain. It was large enough for countless Murong-yu to sit cross-legged. Sinking into his mind, Murong Yu forced out a drop of blood essence and was about to drip it on the giant cauldron. Drip blood to recognize it as the owner. However, what made Murong Yu helpless was that the moment his blood essence came out, it disappeared with a chi sound. It was burned. Murong Yu was suddenly worried. After thinking for a while, Murong Yu's mind suddenly flashed. Murong Yu's mind suddenly flashed. If this giant cauldron was the yin-yang cauldron, then it still had a trace of connection with him. Then, as long as he strengthened this connection, it would naturally recognize him as the owner. As long as he imprinted his spiritual imprint in the giant cauldron, it would be possible. Therefore, Murong Yu calmed down, and his spiritual energy came out of his body and attached to the giant cauldron. He even slowly wrapped the entire giant cauldron. However, after a few years, the giant cauldron did not have any reaction. At this time, Hichu and Hichu Luoshu finally could not stand it anymore. He felt that Murong Yu was really stupid. This giant cauldron is undoubtedly the yin-yang cauldron. Since the yin-yang cauldron is still connected to you, you can directly control it. Why do you need to recognize it as the owner again? Hichu's voice suddenly appeared in Murong Yu's ears, but Murong Yu was shocked. Is it really the yin-yang cauldron? How did it become like this? Murong Yu could not help but ask. Then, a touch of embarrassment appeared on his face. He had never thought of directly controlling the giant cauldron, because he subconsciously thought that the giant cauldron was not the yin-yang cauldron. Why is it like this? Let's talk about this later. You can keep the yin-yang cauldron first, Hichu said calmly. Murong Yu laughed and withdrew his spiritual energy. Then he controlled the trace of connection in his heart with the yin-yang cauldron and began to control it. Boom! Just as Murong Yu was trying to control it, the giant cauldron that originally stood between heaven and earth shook involuntarily. Chapter 1005. The giant cauldron's movement was incredible. The flame of primal chaos had already spread out over a large area, and with this movement, the flame of primal chaos suddenly exploded. With a muffled boom, the flame of primal chaos exploded and swept out in all directions. Instantly, many Demon Clan experts who were extremely close to the flame of primal chaos suffered. Countless people did not even have time to react before they were burned to ashes by the flame of primal chaos. Instantly, countless experts were terrified, and one by one, they flew away into the distance. Because there were so many people nearby, it immediately became chaotic. During this process, many people were killed or slashed to death by the powerful people. In a short period of time, the Demon Clan suffered heavy losses. However, the giant cauldron only shook slightly this time, and the area covered by the flame of primal chaos was expanded by 10 times. As a result, only a few people were burned to death in the beginning. Later on, all of them escaped and stared at the cauldron from afar with murderous intent. They couldn't wait to kill Murong Yu. While they were glaring at Murong Yu, the giant cauldron shook violently again. Countless experts in the surroundings had already become frightened birds, and they immediately retreated. However, after retreating far away, they realized the flame of primal chaos did not explode again. It was just that the giant cauldron kept shaking. Waves of powerful pressure burst out continuously, shaking the surrounding void and causing it to collapse in large areas. It was extremely terrifying. At this time, Murong Yu, who was originally sitting cross-legged on the giant cauldron, had already flown up. The giant cauldron was shaking so violently that it was no longer suitable for him to stay there. However, although this attempt did not manage to take the giant cauldron away, the giant cauldron had already reacted violently. Moreover, Murong Yu was pleasantly surprised to find that after this attempt, the connection between his heart and the yin-yang cauldron had become stronger. He immediately concluded that this giant cauldron was undoubtedly the yin-yang cauldron. After knowing Murong Yu's thoughts, Hichu was instantly depressed. This was because he had clearly and affirmatively said that this giant cauldron was the yin-yang cauldron. However, Murong Yu did not believe him. Without any hesitation, Muron-Yu began to control the yin-yang cauldron again. Under his control, the yin-yang cauldron shook even more violently. At the same time, countless experts from the demon clan and the human clan retreated even further. All of them looked at Muron-Yu from afar, especially the experts from the demon clan, who were furious and filled with murderous intent. Unfortunately, even though they were furious, they could not do anything to Muron-Yu. We Muron-Yu, 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 Muron-Yu. With Muron-Yu's Muron-Yu, 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 Muron-Yu's Muron-Yu, Muron-Yu, Muron-Muron, murderous intent. And Muron-Yu, Muron-Yu, and Muron, Muron, Muron Merce, Muron Chaos. Healing Muron. He Muron you Muron Muron you Muron you Muron 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 you Muron Muron Mores Muron Muron. Yin-Yang Cauldron, take it. As Hichu Luoshu floated above his head, Muron-Yu roared in his heart. Whoosh! The flame of primal chaos, which had covered hundreds of millions of miles, suddenly disappeared like a tide and surged into the Yin-Yang Cauldron. At the same time, the Yin-Yang Cauldron turned into a black stream of light and shrank rapidly from its original towering appearance. Finally, it turned into a tiny dot and rushed straight between Muron-Yu's eyebrows. The saint weapon has been subdued. This was the only thought that appeared in the minds of countless people in the surroundings when they saw this scene. However, the quasi-saint experts of the demon clan were the first to react. One by one, they stretched out their large hands and quickly grabbed at Muron-Yu in the sky. Great gods, we'll meet again someday. The moment the Yin-Yang Cauldron was taken into the Hichu Luoshu world, Muron-Yu had also stepped into the Yin-Yang Cauldron. When the quasi-saint experts of the demon clan made their moves, he had already disappeared from where he was, leaving only an infuriating sentence. Rumble. The moment Muron-Yu disappeared, the power of many quasi-saint experts of the demon clan bombarded him. However, they only managed to break the sky. There was no trace of Muron-Yu at all. That bastard must have been hiding in the void nearby. Blast him out. Countless experts of the demon clan finally reacted. One by one, they attacked furiously, causing the void above their heads to collapse continuously. They wanted to shake Muron-Yu out of the void. However, at this time, Muron-Yu had already left. Even if they broke the sky, they would not be able to find Muron-Yu. However, when the people of Primeval College saw this scene, their faces turned gloomy. Like those people, they also thought that Muron-Yu had hidden in the void. However, there were too many people of the demon clan now. The void within hundreds of millions of miles had been sealed by them. Unless one was a saint, there was no way one could escape from here. However, although the people of Primeval College were worried, they did not do anything. With their strength and numbers, they could not do anything at all. Otherwise, they would be besieged to death by countless experts of the demon clan. They had only made preparations to save Muron-Yu the moment they discovered him. Then, they would escape without a trace. As long as they returned to human territory, no matter how many experts of the demon clan there were, they would not be able to do anything to them. At this time, Muron-Yu had already left the deity sea and appeared in Qingqing. However, he did not leave the Hichu Luoshu world. In the Hichu Luoshu world, the Yin-Yang Cauldron had returned to its original size. However, there was a huge difference from before. Apart from the black flame of primordial chaos that burned continuously on the surface of the cauldron, the entire cauldron had turned black like the chaotic power. Hichu, what's going on? How did the Yin-Yang Cauldron become the flame of primordial chaos? Did it level up? Muron-Yu had been puzzled by this question for a long time. This is the ultimate form of the Yin-Yang Cauldron, Hichu Luoshu said calmly. Muron-Yu looked at Hichu in confusion. He seemed to remember that Hichu had not said this before. Everything in the world is transformed from primordial chaos. The closer it is to primordial chaos, the stronger it is. Although the Yin-Yang Cauldron's Yin-Yang Cauldron is one of the most powerful flames in the world, it is far inferior to the flame of primordial chaos. The Yin-Yang Cauldron was born with the Hichu Luoshu world. In fact, it has already surpassed the category of a divine weapon. Later on, The yin-yang cauldron was beaten down to a lower level, just like me. Therefore, it only has the yin-yang flame. But this time, the yin-yang cauldron has returned to its original level, and its power is even more terrifying. Beyond the category of a divine weapon, is there an even more powerful existence above the sage? Morong Yu frowned slightly. Hichu immediately shook his head and said, "The holy world is the highest level plane in this world. The sage is also the highest level of life in this world. The so-called divine weapons are usually created by the sage. Some of them are born by the heaven and earth. They can all be called divine weapons. However, there are some things that the sage can never create. Ordinary heaven and earth can't create them. For example, the Hichu Luoshu and the yin-yang cauldron are magic treasures born from primordial chaos. Anything born from primordial chaos is countless times more powerful than the top divine weapons. Even the top sages are jealous of them. You have many of them." Morong Yu was a little nervous. Does that mean that once people know that the Hichu Luoshu and the like are treasures born from primordial chaos, the top existences above the heaven realm will fight for them? Of course. Morong Yu fell silent. How powerful was the top existence among the sages? They were at least at the supreme level. The supreme of heaven and earth, the kind of expert who could shake the heaven and earth with a single step. Although there were many cultivators in the world, they were not a match for that kind of person, even if they joined forces. Why are you afraid? Why would I be afraid? One day, I will trample all of them under my feet. Morong Yu's eyes flashed coldly. He had never trampled anyone before. After thinking for a while, Morong Yu suddenly thought of something. What kind of existence is heaven? Is it also at the level of the top existences in the holy world? But why do I feel that heaven is much stronger than those top existences in the holy world? Heaven is a special existence. It can be said to be the ruler of this world, controlling everything, Hichu said calmly. Ruler? Morong Yu frowned slightly. In the future, if you have enough strength, you can kill heaven and become your own ruler. Hichu's eyes flashed coldly, and a murderous intent shot out. Morong Yu, on the other hand, was so shocked that he nearly jumped out of his seat. If it was really as he too had said, and the heavens were the ruler of this world and controlled everything, then their conversation would naturally have been overheard by him. If heaven was angry with them for speaking such disgraceful words, wouldn't they be reduced to ashes with just a thought? Don't worry, heaven is sleeping. It won't hear our conversation. However, as a celestial chaos body, you will definitely control primordial chaos in the future. If you don't kill heaven, heaven will not allow you to control primordial chaos. That's because primordial chaos controllers are even stronger than rulers. Even heaven will be controlled. Rulers could only control the world. However, this world was only the tip of the iceberg of primordial chaos. It cannot be compared to the endless primordial chaos. There is still a long way to go. Morong Yu sighed. Right now, he was still a long way from reaching the peak of the true God realm. Saints were even further away. Rulers, on the other hand, were above the saints, and the primal chaos controller was above the rulers. Chapter 1006. The only mission of a chaotic celestial body is to become the controller of chaos, and everyone will stop you from achieving this goal, including the ruler of the world, heaven, because no one wants to be controlled by you. In the saints' world, many top saints want to kill heaven. They often find out about each other because they don't want heaven to control their fate. As the ruler of the world, heaven only likes to rule over all living things and doesn't want his fate to be controlled by others. Therefore, once he finds out that you are a chaotic celestial body, he will definitely kill you immediately. Therefore, you'd better use the heavenly punishment token sparingly. If you use it too much, heaven will discover your secret. At that time, you will probably be killed by heaven before you can become a saint. Because a chaotic celestial body is destined to become the controller of chaos. Morong Yu's voice rang in Morong Yu's ears word by word, so clear and powerful. Morong Yu thought of another question. Then, was Zhao Yun killed by heaven? Heaven didn't do anything to any of the chaotic celestial bodies, but they all died because of heaven. So, even if you don't want to become the controller of chaos, heaven is still your enemy. If you don't kill him, he will kill you. It's that simple. A bitter expression appeared on Murong Yu's face. You're forcing me to kill the heavens. Well, in order to be able to kill heaven in the future, I'll go raise my cultivation level first. With a thought, Murong Yu came to the chaotic secret ground again. Swish! Lu Haozong had already noticed Murong Yu when he entered the chaotic secret ground. Immediately, he crossed hundreds of millions of space-time with a step and appeared beside Murong Yu. Then he looked at Murong Yu expectantly. Don't ask. I've never heard of those ordinary materials of yours. I don't have any clues. Seeing Lu Haozong's expression, Murong Yu knew what he was thinking, so he said directly. Lu Haozong sighed, but he wasn't too disappointed. After all, those things were considered rare in the saints' world and extremely difficult to find in the god world. All of a sudden, Lu Haozong's eyes flashed with a bright light. He looked at him with a burning expression. After a long time, he said in shock, "Your physical body is broken through again? A body at the level of a peerless, divine artifact." Lu Haozong was shocked, extremely shocked. He was definitely the first person in the history of the divine world to have a body at the level of a peerless divine artifact. In fact, he might even be the only person in the history of the divine world who could achieve such a level. No matter how strong a person was, their physical body was generally not strong. Most of them only maintained the level of an ordinary divine body. The so-called divine body was the body of a deity. While condensing a godhead, he would also condense a divine body. As for the divine body of this deity, most people would not be able to continue improving it to the level of a low-grade divine artifact. In the divine world, there was no lack of experts who possessed a low-grade divine artifact body. There were also those who possessed a mid-grade divine artifact body. However, it was extremely rare for someone to reach this level. It was basically impossible to find a high-grade god artifact. However, Murong Yu's body had surpassed the level of a supreme divine artifact and reached the level of a peerless divine artifact. Did that mean that Murong Yu could still improve it to the level of a sacred divine artifact in the future? Or even reach the level of a sacred body in the divine world? A sacred body was like a deity. It was condensed at the same time when one became a saint. The body of an ordinary saint could only reach this level. It was even stronger than a sacred divine artifact body. That was because it was the sacred body of a saint. In fact, Lu Haozong could already imagine the level of Murong Yu's body once he entered the saint's world. Wouldn't it be the same as it was now? In fact, what Lu Haozong did not know was that Murong Yu's chaotic celestial body constitution was a part of his cultivation. The physical body and power were balanced and equally strong. Otherwise, how could he be called a supreme body constitution? Your physical body is much stronger than mine. Do you have to be so surprised? Murong Yu looked at Lu Haozong speechlessly. He felt that Lu Haozong was making a fuss over nothing. Lu Haozong was speechless. He was an undead saint. His sacred body was definitely much stronger than theirs. However, his physical strength was only in the normal range. Murong Yu's was too abnormal. Seeing Murong Yu sit down cross-legged on the spot, Lu Haozong asked in confusion, "What are you doing?" "Cultivating and breaking through to the next level. If you have nothing else to do, you can go back and continue to stay." "You're going to break through again?" Lu Haozong was shocked again. He still remembered that not long ago, Murong Yu was only in the heavenly god realm when he first entered. He had not even reached the over-god realm. In just tens of thousands of years, he had gone from the heavenly god realm to the over-god realm, the heavenly lord realm, and was even going to break through to the heavenly king realm. In less than 100,000 years, Murong Yu had broken through 3 or 4 major realms. In such a short period of time, most people could not even increase their strength by a little. Monster. Abnormal. In an instant, only these 2 words appeared in Lu Haozong's mind. Only these 2 words could describe Murong Yu. Murong Yu immediately showed a bitter expression. My speed of improvement is too slow. I don't know when I can break through to the Heavenly Emperor realm. Hearing Murong Yu's words, Lu Haozong almost could not help but slap him to death. In less than 100,000 years, he had crossed several major realms. Now, he was lamenting the slow speed of his breakthrough. If this was considered slow, then all the other cultivators in the world could go. However, what Lu Haozong did not know was that Murong Yu was telling the truth. It was very easy for him to raise his realm, even to the peak of the Heavenly King realm. However, it would be difficult to break through to the Heavenly Emperor realm, unless the chaotic celestial body record also broke through during this process. It would be extremely difficult for him to break through to the next realm. Ignoring the shocked Lu Haozong, Murong Yu began to devour the surrounding chaotic airflow and began to refine it to raise his realm. After the chaotic celestial body record broke through, as long as Murong Yu had enough strength, he could push his realm to the Heavenly King realm. And the chaotic energy here was incomparably dense. Therefore, it only took him a few hundred years to successfully break through to the Heavenly King realm. However, after he broke through, Lu Haozong realized that he did not stop absorbing the chaotic energy. Lu Haozong did not mind. He only thought that Murong Yu wanted to consolidate his realm. However, he was surprised to see that Murong Yu's realm was quickly consolidated, but he still did not stop absorbing the chaotic energy. Is he going to break through to the mid-stage of the Heavenly King realm in one fell swoop? Lu Haozong thought in shock. Murong Yu gave him a very clear answer. He was indeed trying to break through to a higher realm. Another few hundred years later, his realm was broken through to the mid-stage of the Heavenly King realm in one fell swoop. Then, he continued to break through to the late stage of the Heavenly King realm. Crazy. Crazy. Lu Haozong felt that his understanding had been shattered by Murong Yu. How could anyone break through to the late stage of the Heavenly King realm in one fell swoop? This was the Heavenly realm, not a place like the cultivation world. He's a freak, he's a monster. He can't be looked at as an ordinary person. Even though Lu Haozong was a super expert of the undead realm, he still felt that he had been hit by Murong Yu. Moreover, it was the kind of hit that had been beaten black and blue. After a full 2,000 years, Murong Yu finally opened his eyes. And his realm had also risen from the peak of the Heavenly Monarch realm to the peak of the Heavenly King realm. Although this chaotic secret land is good and can provide a lot of chaotic power, however, it doesn't have much effect on space and lightning divinity. Murong Yu stood up and sighed again. Lu Haozong once again had the urge to slap Murong Yu to death. However, he still managed to hold himself back. Murong Yu was able to break through to the peak of the Heavenly King realm from the early stage of the Heavenly King realm in 2,000 years. This speed was already unprecedented. He still wanted to break through to the peak of the Heavenly King realm at the same time. At this moment, a phrase flashed in Lu Haozong's mind. A man who is never content is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. This sentence should be very appropriate to describe Murong Yu at this time. Lu Haozong, do you know where there's a secret land with a lot of thunder and lightning power? Seeing Lu Haozong's envious and jealous eyes, Murong Yu asked as if he didn't notice. I don't know, Lu Haozong said straightforwardly. It's a pity, otherwise lightning divinity could also break through to the peak of the Heavenly King realm. Murong Yu sighed again, making Lu Haozong's face darken again. You can leave here, Lu Haozong said with a dark face. He found that as long as Murong Yu stood in front of him, he would think of the scene of Murong Yu quickly breaking through to the next realm. When he thought of that scene, he couldn't help but compare it with his own cultivation speed. Then, he would be constantly attacked. Therefore, he immediately wanted to drive Murong Yu away, so as not to see him looking for a blow. Murong Yu rolled his eyes and ignored Lu Haozong. Instead, he muttered in his heart, there are many secret lands in the divine realm. I wonder if Primeval College has a secret land with thunder and lightning power, or do other forces have them? Because of the primal chaos god lattice, Muronyu didn't have to worry about the primal chaos energy when he was in the divine realm. As for the space god Lattice, as long as Muronyu was in this world, he didn't have to worry about not having enough space energy for him to devour. On the other hand, lightning divinity was hard to break through to the next realm. He had to find a secret land with lightning divinity. Muronyu thought in his heart. Then, his figure flashed, and he left the primal chaos secret land. Time to cultivate. Seeing Muronyu leave, Lu Haozong finally felt that the blow to him wasn't as strong as before. His figure flashed, and he also disappeared. At this moment, Muronyu appeared in Qingqing City again. His entire body was filled with demonic qi, and his appearance had changed. The news of him obtaining the Yin-Yang Cauldron had probably spread throughout the divine realm. As for his appearance, he believed that many people had already remembered it in their hearts. If he dared to strut around in Azure City at this time, he didn't doubt that everyone in Azure City would swarm him. Chapter 1007. Heaven is my enemy. One day, he'll find out that I'm a chaotic celestial body and fight me. Should I continue using it? After leaving Qingsheng, Muronyu was a little hesitant. Killing evil men and earning divine points could allow them to quickly grow stronger. This was extremely tempting to Xiao Chun. If he earned enough divine points now, he could even comprehend the 6th level of the chaotic celestial body record. At that time, his strength could even break through to the celestial master realm or even the quasi-saint realm. However, if heaven knew that he was a chaotic celestial body, he would be dead with a thought. It seems that I'll have to use it less in the future. I'll suppress the heavenly punishment token in Hichu Luo Shu. I wonder if heaven knows that I'm a chaotic celestial body after using it so many times? Muronyu frowned. He was still a little nervous. After all, other than the chaos controller, the ruler was the most powerful. From the celestial realm to the mortal world, he ruled over everything. Hichu, what do you think the heart of the demon clan is? Could it be in existence like the chaotic celestial body? Will heaven find it and destroy it? He had heard the beast god say that as long as the heart of the demon clan did not die, the demon clan would not be destroyed. The heart of the demon clan could be anything. Could it be that the heart of the demon clan could really threaten the ruler of heaven? Besides, heaven itself did not know where the heart of the demon clan was. Perhaps heaven was unable to destroy the heart of the demon clan and wanted to use Muronyu to destroy it. After thinking about it, Muronyu's figure flashed and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already back in Primeval College. He had just come out of his courtyard. Muronyu usually teleported directly to his room when he returned to Primeval College. Hichu had set up layers of restrictions in that room. Ordinary people could not break them. Naturally, no one would know that he had teleported back. As soon as he left the courtyard, Muronyu saw a familiar face. When he saw it, he was shocked. He thought that he had seen wrongly. Ah, pervert, you finally appeared? Seeing Muronyu suddenly appear, Kurlan let out a cry of surprise. Then, her figure flashed, and she rushed to Muronyu's side. She looked at Muronyu in shock. She was probably wondering when Muronyu would come back. Muronyu did not answer Kurlan's question. Instead, he asked, "How did you get into Primeval College?" Are you looking down on me? I'm also a student of Primeval College. Kurlan puffed out her chest and said proudly, "You became a student of Primeval College? Are you in preschool?" Muronyu was stunned. Although Kurlan's strength had improved a lot, she still hadn't reached the Sky Realm. Since when did Primeval College start accepting students under the Sky Realm? Although he didn't know what preschool meant, it probably wasn't anything good. Therefore, Kurlan was depressed. She glared at Muronyu with her big, watery eyes. "Pervert, are you looking down on me?" Muronyu stared at Kurlan for a while. Finally, he nodded and said honestly, "Yes, you're right. Pervert, I'll bite you to death." While speaking, Kurlan's figure flashed, and she pounced on him. Then, she hung on Muronyu's body and didn't come down. Muronyu's body stiffened. The smile on his face also stiffened. After a long time, he said, "I'm a merry man, bah." Kurlan fell down as if she had been electrocuted. Her face was red as she turned around and ran away. Morong strode up and asked, "How are Fantong and the others?" "Fantong is also here." Kurlan slowly calmed her little heart that was beating like a deer, and then she said, Morong was surprised. "Don't tell me you all came?" Morong referred to them. In addition to Kurlan and Fantong, there were also the three sisters of the Ouyang family. We all came in. However, in addition to me and Fantong, Sister Ouyang Fei and the others are very strong. Speaking of this, Kurlan felt very depressed. "Let's go and talk to Fantong and the others." Morong originally planned to immediately find Xiang Sung Wu to inquire about the Thunder Secret Plane after coming back, but after meeting Kurlan and the others, he changed his mind. As for Shengzhen's side, since the experts of the Celestial Palace were killed in the Thunder Secret Plane, no demon race came to attack Shengzhen. Therefore, Morong did not plan to go back for the time being. Kurlan pouted her small mouth, looking unhappy. However, she still took Morong to the courtyard of Fantong and the others. The few of them lived nearby. Lan Kier had gone to Morong's courtyard for a stroll because she had some ulterior motives. Coincidentally, she had bumped into him. "The big pervert is back." As soon as they entered the courtyard, Kurlan shouted, and her voice spread out of the courtyard and far away. For a time, countless divine wills extended from all directions, wanting to see which big pervert was back. However, when they saw Morong, their divine wills retreated like the tide. What a joke! Who was Morong? He was the first among the new students. If he was only the first among the new students, these people would definitely not be afraid of him. However, the news that Morong had obtained a sacred weapon in the demon race's territory had already spread. Morong had a sacred weapon on him, and that sacred weapon was an existence that could easily kill experts like Quasi-Saint. Even if Morong could not activate its full power, wouldn't it be more than enough to kill them? Therefore, when they saw that it was Morong, the divine wills of the people behind did not dare to look over. However, Kurlan blushed. She did not expect that these people would be so gossipy. "Haha, Morong, long time no see. You're getting more and more perverted." Fantong strode out of the house, laughing as he walked towards Morong. Morong's face suddenly darkened. "What do you mean by perverted? And it's getting more and more perverted?" People who don't know would really think that Morong is a pervert. Puffed. The people who asked could not help but chuckle. "Am I right? You are indeed very perverted." Fantong laughed. Morong's face darkened even more. One called him a big pervert, and the other called him a pervert. It would be strange if others did not misunderstand. "What's the matter with you guys? Why did you all come to Primeval College?" After sitting down, Morong glanced at them and asked. These people's backgrounds were very terrifying. There was no need for them to join Primeval College. However, now that they all joined Primeval College, something must have happened. "The God Realm is going to change," Fantong said with a sigh. "Change?" Morong did not understand. "The demon race is going to wage war against the human race. Over the years, the demon race has constantly infiltrated the human continent and killed the human race's powerhouses everywhere. Of course, the human race's powerhouses have also rushed to the demon race's realm and started a massacre. The God Realm is going to be in chaos, and this is just the beginning of the chaos. Once the time is right, the demon race will directly wage war against the human race." Morong frowned slightly and asked, "Why would the demon race want to wage war? Everyone occupies half the sky, and the well water does not interfere with the river water." Fantong shook his head. How could he know these secrets? "Perverted thief, did you really manage to snatch a saint artifact? Let's see." Kurlan suddenly said after chatting with everyone for a while. "That was mine to begin with," Morong said with a dark face. At the same time, he took out the yin yang cauldron. Since many people had seen it, he did not mind taking it out, as long as no one else discovered the secret of the yin yang cauldron. "Is this a sacred artifact? It's no different from a divine artifact." Kurlan directly took the yin yang cauldron in her hands and played with it. "This is something that can even kill Quasi-Saint. You have to be careful. Otherwise, we're all finished. Seeing Kurlon playing with the Yin-Yang cauldron, Fantong was a little frightened. Don't worry, it won't hurt you, Murong said with a smile. After half a day, Murong bid farewell to everyone and came to Xiang Sungwu's house. Then, under the envious eyes of many students, he swaggered into Xiang Sungwu's courtyard. Brat, you're finally willing to come back? Xiang Sungwu's voice sounded. Then, Murong stepped into the hall. Your strength has improved again, not bad. However, Brat, although you obtained the sacred artifact this time and safely retreated, you're still dangerous. But you're too dangerous like this. Xiang Sungwu first praised Murong, then said with a gloomy face. Murong felt a warm current in his heart. He knew that Xiang Sungwu was concerned about him. However, he just smiled faintly on the surface and sat down directly. Then he said, Aren't I fine? And I never do things that I'm not sure of. Xiang Sungwu looked at Murong, then finally couldn't help but ask, At that time, how did you leave? It's a secret. Xiang Sungwu's face suddenly darkened. However, he didn't continue to ask. After all, everyone had some secrets. However, Murong's secret was something he could use to escape. Once it was leaked, it would be extremely disadvantageous for Murong. By the way, how did the humans react to me obtaining the sacred artifact? Murong asked. Xiang Sungwu's face flashed with a cold smile. How do you think they should react? Although those people were intimidated by Primeval College and didn't dare to do anything openly, you still have to be careful. Once you find that kind of person, just kill them. How dare they attack the people of Primeval College? They really don't know what's good for them. However, Primeval College supports you, so you don't have to worry. Is that so? Murong sneered in his heart. It wasn't that he didn't believe Xiang Sungwu. It was just that he obtained the sacred artifact after all, and it was normal for others to give it to him. By the way, does Primeval College have a lightning secret area? Xiang Sungwu frowned slightly. Primeval College doesn't have a lightning secret area, but Abyssal College has one. Chapter 1008. In the God Realm, there are many secret planes like this. Some of the secret planes that have been discovered are in the hands of the 4 great academies or the major forces of the 4 continents, and become their private property. Abyssal College controls a lightning secret plane. The lightning secret plane is full of violent lightning power, and ordinary people can't go in at all. Only some experts of Abyssal College who cultivate lightning divinity dare to go in to temper their bodies. However, in the world, how many people can directly absorb lightning to enhance their strength like Murong? Murong frowned slightly. Abyssal College is one of the 4 great academies of the human race. But will they let Murong go in? Obviously, this is impossible. For example, Primeval College will not let people from other academies enter the gravity secret plane. Only Abyssal College has a similar secret plane. Murong looked at Xiang Sungwu and asked with a frown. Xiang Sungwu nodded slightly. Murong felt a headache. If Maoku has the power of lightning, how can he quickly improve the power of lightning divinity? With the power of the heavenly tribulation? Every time Murong makes a breakthrough, there will be heavenly tribulation. However, with his current physical strength, those heavenly tribulations can't even temper his body and can only slightly improve the power of lightning divinity. I'll discuss it. Maybe you can get the qualification to enter the secret plane with some price. Xiang Sungwu pondered for a moment, and then disappeared in a flash. Murong's eyes flashed with a cold light, but he still sat in the same place and didn't leave. Half a day later, Xiang Sungwu came back. His face was light and calm, and no one could see anything strange. Abyssal College agrees to let you cultivate in the thunder and lightning secret plane for 10,000 years. In exchange, we will also open the gravity secret plane to them and allow a student of Abyssal College to enter. Murong frowned again. Abyssal College agreed, just like that? Very straightforward. If Murong had been in Primeval College, he definitely wouldn't have agreed so confidently. After all, Murong was the #1 freshman of Primeval College. He had single-handedly crushed all the freshmen of Primeval College, forcing Abyssal College to give the title of the top of the 4 colleges to Primeval College. This was not only about the ranking, but also a large amount of resources. Moreover, Morong Yu had seized the sacred artifact. Why did Morong Yu want to enter the secret lightning zone? It was obvious that he wanted to raise his cultivation level. Would the people of Abyssal College allow Morong Yu to raise his strength quickly? At the very least, Morong Yu wouldn't have agreed so readily. Even if he agreed, he would have blackmailed Primeval College. Then, the other party agreed so readily. Therefore, Abyssal College might be harboring evil intentions. It's very likely that it's disadvantageous to you, so you have to decide whether to go or not. However, I personally in Primeval College suggest that you don't go, Xiang Sungwu said slowly with a solemn look in his eyes. However, Morong Yu laughed. In the demon realm, they can't do anything to me when facing the quasi-saint, who is almost all the demons, let alone Tianhuang mainland. If Tianhuang mainland really doesn't know what's good for them, I don't mind making them disappear in the long river of history. As he spoke, Morong Yu's body surged with killing intent. However, it shocked Xiang Sungwu beside him. Given Morong Yu's strength, if he could really grow, it would not be a problem for him to destroy Abyssal College. Not long after, Morong Yu set off with Xiang Sungwu and the others. Apart from Xiang Sungwu, there were 2 other quasi-saint level experts traveling with them. One could only imagine how important Morong Yu was to Primeval College. However, Morong Yu could not even see the faces of these 2 quasi-saint, and they did not speak along the way. What made Morong Yu most speechless was that Xiang Sungwu did not introduce the identities of these 2 people, leaving Morong Yu confused. Star Desolate Continent, Star Desolate City. The teleportation formation flashed, and a group of 4 figures rushed out of it. Rumble. The moment these 4 figures appeared, a few huge hands tore through the firmament and reached down from the 9 heavens. Their aura soared to the sky, and their aura was violent. They erupted with a terrifying aura that could destroy heaven and earth, grabbing at these 4 people. 5 large hands. All of them were quasi-saint level existences. At this moment, Morong Yu's expression changed slightly. This was because he felt that these 5 quasi-saint level experts were coming for him. They wanted to seize the sacred artifact and kill Morong Yu. Oomph. The 2 quasi-saint from Primeval College snorted coldly. They reached out their large hands, which transformed into the size of a sacred mountain, and met the large hands that were slapping down from the sky. Rumble. 5 against 2, it was obvious who had the upper hand. The large hands transformed by the 2 quasi-saint from Primeval College were shattered. On the other hand, the large hands that were reaching down from the sky paused for a moment, and then continued to slap down. At this moment, the entire Star Desolate City was shrouded in a terrifying aura, drowning it. Feeling the terrifying aura that could destroy heaven and earth, everyone in Star Desolate City was so scared that their bodies went limp. Bold scoundrels, how dare you intercept and kill the people from Primeval College? You're really courting death. A loud voice suddenly spread far and wide. Then, Morong Yu saw one of the quasi-saint from Primeval College soar into the sky and meet the large hands that were rapidly slapping down from the sky. Morong Yu was surprised. Just now, the 2 of them were not a match for these people, even when they joined forces. Now, he was rushing up alone. Wasn't he courting death? Morong Yu was puzzled. He looked at Xiang Sungwu, who had a calm expression. Xiang Sungwu smiled faintly and said, "Watch carefully." Seeing Xiang Sungwu's calm and confident appearance, Morong Yu stopped talking and looked up at the sky. Boom! Suddenly, a blood-red light burst out from the body of the Primeval College quasi-saint that was flying up into the sky. After a loud noise, a violent smell of blood soared into the sky. With the Primeval College quasi-saint as the center, it swept out in all directions. At this moment, Morong Yu suddenly felt as if he had entered a pool of blood. The terrible smell of blood assaulted his nose, making him feel so uncomfortable that he wanted to vomit. In particular, The smell of blood carried an incomparably violent pressure and power that wanted to kill him. The Bloody Butcher. At this moment, a cry of surprise came from the sky. The Bloody Butcher was obviously the Primeval College's quasi-saint. Bloodhand Butcher. A trace of doubt flashed through Murong Yu's mind. He had seen the Bloodhand Devil Emperor before. However, no matter how strong the Bloody Hand was, he was only a celestial emperor. The Bloody Butcher was much stronger than him. The Bloody Butcher snorted coldly and stretched out his hand. It was so big that it seemed to cover half of the sky. Then he fiercely grabbed it. With a swoosh, the 5 big hands that came crashing down from the sky were directly caught by him. Then the Bloody Butcher's big hand fiercely squeezed. Bang! With a loud sound, the 5 big hands all exploded. After crushing the 5 big hands in one go, the Bloody Butcher took a step forward and disappeared on the spot. Boom! When he reappeared, he was already far away on the horizon. After a loud bang, the sky shattered. A figure was actually thrown out of the void by the Bloody Butcher's punch. He spat out blood and flew backward. It was one of the 5 quasi-saint who had just attacked. At this moment, this quasi-saint looked at the Bloody Butcher with a face full of horror. His figure flashed, and he was about to escape. However, the Bloody Butcher snorted coldly and took a step forward. He was already by his side. His big hand quickly stretched out and caught the person before he could escape. The Bloody Butcher. You can't kill me. Otherwise, when the demon race attacks, the human race will burn a large part of their combat power. Quasi-Saint begged for mercy in horror. 10 pieces of trash like you can't compare to one of my hands. How dare you kill someone from Primeval College? You must be tired of living. The Bloody Butcher sneered and grabbed with his big hand. With a bang, this quasi-saint was crushed before he could even beg for mercy. Even his soul was dead. And all of you will die. The Bloody Butcher's cold voice, which contained a supreme, killing intent, spread far and wide. Then he stood on the spot and threw out 4 punches in different directions. Boom, 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 boom. The sky in the distance suddenly exploded. 4 figures fell out of the void and spat out blood. They were in a very sorry state. However, even so, they did not stop. They used their fastest speed to run for their lives. None of you can escape, the Bloody Butcher said indifferently. He took a step forward and crossed a great distance. He appeared behind a quasi-saint and threw out a punch with his invincible divine fist. Boom! That quasi-saint was immediately killed. He did not even have the chance to resist. Or rather, he did not even have the intention to resist. Who was the Bloody Butcher? How could he have such terrifying strength? Murong Yu was extremely shocked. Those 2 were quasi-saints. Even if they were the worst quasi-saint, they were still at the level of a quasi-saint and were extremely powerful. However, they were so weak in front of the Bloody Butcher. It was not that these quasi-saints were too weak. It was that the Bloody Butcher was too strong. The Bloody Butcher's strength was infinitely close to that of Saint. Otherwise, he would not have killed the quasi-saint like he was killing chickens. Murong Yu narrowed his eyes slightly. In his heart, he felt that the Bloody Butcher should have reached the level of a quasi-saint. While Murong Yu was pondering, the Bloody Butcher attacked again and again. In the blink of an eye, he had killed the other 3 quasi-saint. The Bloody Butcher was not injured. Those people did not even have the chance to fight back. They were completely frightened by the Bloody Butcher and were completely slaughtered by him. His ferocity was unparalleled. It was earth-shattering and intimidating countless experts. This was the Bloody Butcher. Chapter 1009. The Bloody Butcher. The Bloody Butcher had killed 4 quasi-saint level powerhouses within a few breaths of time, shocking the entire Star Wilderness continent. The news quickly spread throughout the 4 continents. The news of the Bloody Butcher's return to the Jianghu spread like wildfire, shocking countless people. Especially after witnessing the shocking scene of the Bloody Butcher killing 4 quasi-saint level powerhouses, many people were even more terrified of the Bloody Butcher. After killing the 4 quasi-saint level powerhouses, the Bloody Butcher retracted his aura and returned to his ordinary appearance. However, Who would dare to treat him as an ordinary person? At this moment, the bloody butcher stood in the sky and slowly scanned his surroundings. That sharp gaze was like a saint-grade artifact that could cut through the firmament. Many powerhouses hidden in the dark could not help but tremble slightly, and a hint of fear appeared on their faces. Damn it, Primeval College actually sent the bloody butcher to escort Morongyu. This shows how important Morongyu is to Primeval College. Fortunately, I didn't make a move just now, or I would be the one dead. A quasi-saint hidden in the dark secretly wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and said with lingering fear, if he had made a move just now, he would definitely have followed in the footsteps of the 4 quasi-saint level powerhouses and been killed by the bloody butcher. Killing these 4 people is just a warning. If something like this happens again, Primeval College will definitely pursue this matter to the end and kill all 9 generations of your family. The bloody butcher's cold voice spread far and wide, shaking the heavens and the earth. Those with bad intentions were so frightened that their faces turned pale, and they were extremely frightened. Kill all 9 generations of your family. Primeval College definitely had the ability to do so. Although the 4 quasi-saint level powerhouses had changed their appearances, Primeval College would definitely be able to quickly find out their identities. After saying that, the bloody butcher slowly walked down, and just like before, he did not say a word. However, everyone around him looked at the bloody butcher with fear in their eyes, and even invisibly retreated far away. Morongyu, on the other hand, looked at the bloody butcher up and down with a curious gaze. Even Xiang Sung-woo felt embarrassed looking at him. How could he look at someone so rudely? Moreover, that person was a big shot from Primeval College, a top quasi-saint level powerhouse. Kid, are you done looking? Just as Morongyu was sizing up the bloody butcher suddenly said something that almost shocked Morongyu. Senior, what kind of person are you? Morongyu immediately asked. I'm just an ordinary person. The bloody butcher said indifferently, and then continued. All right, let's teleport back to Tianhuang mainland first. I hope this won't happen again, or else. Since they could not see the bloody butcher's face clearly, they could not see his expression. However, Morongyu could sense an extremely strong, killing intent from the bloody butcher. They immediately entered the teleportation formation and teleported back to Tianhuang mainland. Originally, Star Wilderness was a springboard for the 4 major continents. If they wanted to go to the other continents, they had to pass through here. Otherwise, they could only use wormholes. However, wormholes were a highly confidential secret that would never be exposed under normal circumstances. After Morongyu and the others left, the people in Star Wilderness City slowly came to their senses. At this moment, someone asked in confusion, who exactly is the bloody butcher? The bloody butcher was originally an assassin from another continent. He was cruel and bloodthirsty, and he was very powerful. He had killed countless people, so he was called the bloody butcher. However, it was also because of this that he had so many enemies. Almost everyone in the world was his enemy. Isn't he an assassin? How did he expose his identity? Someone asked in confusion. If he hadn't exposed his identity, he would probably still be an assassin now. It was because he exposed his identity that he was hunted down by countless people. Once, the bloody butcher was hunted down for 100 million years, but he was saved by a big shot from Primeval College when he was about to die. Then, he became a student of Primeval College. However, even though he was a student of Primeval College, he was still bloodthirsty. However, he only targeted those who had bad intentions towards Primeval College. Ever since the bloody butcher became a student of Primeval College, he killed many people who had bad intentions towards Primeval College. It wasn't until he became a quasi-saint that he slowly faded from people's sight. However, the experts of the older generation all know about the bloody butcher. Legend has it that he is now extremely close to becoming a saint, and he is almost invincible in the heavenly realm. Because he never leaves anyone alive when he attacks, countless people don't want to meet him. Now that this person has reappeared, he is actually escorting Morongyu. Primeval College really takes good care of Morongyu. Moronyu's aptitude is just a little better, and he's just a little luckier. There's nothing special about him. Someone said disdainfully, if you have the aptitude and luck of Moronyu, then the Bloody Butcher will probably protect you personally. If you don't have the aptitude, then you should obediently cultivate. An elder said indifferently as he slapped the person who was jealous of Moronyu and sent him flying. The Bloody Hand. The person who scared even a quasi-saint to the point of fleeing. Was he just as that person said? Abyssal College was similar to Primeval College. When Moronyu entered Abyssal College, he attracted many gazes. These gazes were filled with disdain, hatred, greed, and peace. There were all kinds of gazes. Moronyu directly ignored these people. After all, he didn't come here to make friends with these people. He came here to cultivate. Senior Bloody Hand, I apologize for not coming out to meet you. Our dean has been waiting for a long time. Please follow me. As soon as Moronyu and his group entered Abyssal College, a quasi-saint level expert from Abyssal College came up to greet them with a warm smile. Moronyu naturally knew that this guy wasn't here to greet him. If he came alone, Abyssal College would probably just send a random student to greet him. Moreover, there would probably be people who would constantly jump out to challenge him on the way. Moronyu's guess was right. Abyssal College originally planned to do so. Although it was an exchange, Moronyu had ruined their reputation and caused them to lose countless resources. It would be strange if they were nice to him. However, when the Bloody Hand killed 4 quasi-saints in Star Desolate City, the big shots from Abyssal College couldn't stay calm anymore. They sent a quasi-saint to wait at the entrance of the college to greet the Bloody Butcher. Who didn't know that the Bloody Butcher had a bad temper? If they were to provoke him, the entire Heaven Wasteland Academy would be thrown into chaos by him. Once an expert of that level went berserk, the Heaven Wasteland Academy would not be able to withstand his anger. Therefore, the dean of Abyssal College personally came out to greet him. However, he didn't go out to greet him. Although the Bloody Butcher was strong, he wasn't the dean of Primeval College. If the dean of Abyssal College went out to greet him, it would be too grand. If word got out, people would say that Abyssal College was afraid of the Bloody Butcher. No need. Let Moronyu enter the secret area to cultivate. Time is precious. The Bloody Butcher said indifferently. The quasi-saint of Abyssal College was in a difficult position. He didn't have a right to do so. Let him go out of the teleportation formation. At this moment, a voice sounded in the quasi-saint's ears. The quasi-saint immediately said, "Then, the 4 of you, please follow me." The quasi-saint of Abyssal College turned around and left. At the same time, he glanced at Moronyu. Moronyu frowned slightly. The quasi-saint's gaze seemed to have casually swept over him. It was very calm, as if nothing was wrong. However, Moronyu sensed that there was another meaning in the quasi-saint's gaze. Does Abyssal College really dare to make a move in the secret area of the Lightning Zone? If that's the case, Abyssal College doesn't need to exist anymore. Moronyu's eyes flashed as he followed the quasi-saint. Under the envious and hateful gazes of Abyssal College students, Moronyu's group entered the depths of Abyssal College and came to a courtyard full of teleportation formations. When Moronyu's group of 4 arrived, the dean of Primeval College and other important people were already waiting there. The Bloody Butcher was welcomed. As for Moronyu, they directly ignored him. Although Moronyu was strong, he wasn't on the same level as them. Whether it was strength or status, he was far inferior to them. The Bloody Butcher didn't say a word. The other quasi-saint of Primeval College was even more so. Only Xiang Sungwu went up to greet them and exchange pleasantries. Moronyu, who was standing at the side, didn't say a word either. However, he often felt that many gazes seemed to inadvertently sweep past him. Moronyu sneered in his heart. The 4 of you, I have to make it clear in advance. The Lightning Zone is unusually violent, and even quasi-saint might die in there. Therefore, if something happens to Moronyu in the secret area, it has nothing to do with us. I hope that Primeval College won't make things difficult for Tianhuang mainland because of that. Moronyu sneered in his heart. These people were ready to make a move in the secret area of the Lightning Zone. Let's draw the line between us first. Even if they managed to kill Moronyu, they could say that something unexpected had happened. If it's an accident, then there's nothing to say. However, if it's not an accident, the Bloody Butcher's voice was heard. It was very calm, but it shook the souls of everyone present. If something happens, all the treasures on Murongyu's body will still belong to Primeval College. As for what treasures he has, we've already calculated them in detail before coming here. When the time comes, we'll have to trouble you guys from Abyssal College. Xiang Sungwu said calmly. Even if Murongyu died, Primeval College had to take back his treasures. In other words, even if Abyssal College killed Murongyu, they wouldn't get anything unless they wanted to start a war with Primeval College. Chapter 10:10. The teleportation formation flickered, and Murongyu's figure disappeared from Abyssal College and was teleported to the lightning-restricted area. After Murongyu left, the Bloody Butcher and Xiang Sungwu all sat cross-legged in the courtyard. Obviously, they were afraid that someone would go in to cause trouble and kill Murongyu. In this regard, the people of Abyssal College were naturally very unhappy. The Bloody Butcher and the others did this, which clearly showed that they didn't trust Abyssal College. However, the people of Abyssal College gave up after a few words of persuasion and let them be. You should be monitoring the lightning-restricted area, right? Why not monitor the whole process? Xiang Sungwu suddenly said. Our Abyssal College extremely respects the privacy of our students. None of the restricted areas will be monitored. Therefore, we can't see anything inside the restricted area. An important person of Abyssal College said in a deep voice. Xiang Sungwu and the others sneered in their hearts. Only ghosts would believe their words. However, since they said so, Xiang Sungwu and the others naturally wouldn't continue. The thunder and lightning-dense ground was filled with all kinds of thunder and lightning energies. Bolts of lightning struck down from the void. From afar, this was simply a world of lightning. Every inch of space was filled with the power of lightning. When Murongyu stepped out of the void, he felt as if he had entered a pool of lightning. Dense lightning power crazily attacked from all directions. Murongyu's body was numb from the electricity. The clothes on his body were instantly blown to pieces by the lightning. With a thought, Murongyu used his divine power to condense a set of clothes and put on. At the same time, the lightning divinity began to operate. The energy that entered his body was absorbed by the lightning divinity and refined into pure lightning energy, increasing Murongyu's strength. The power of lightning is too weak. I can't increase my strength here. I only have 10,000 years. I can only go deeper. Murongyu looked around and found that the power of lightning was very weak. Obviously, the reason why this place was set up as a teleportation point was because it was relatively safe. This was because not everyone who entered the Thunder Secret Ground was strong enough to fight against them. With a thought, Murongyu soared into the air and shot towards the depths. At the same time, when Murongyu entered the Thunder Secret Plane, several figures were lurking not far from the entrance, secretly watching Murongyu. That little bastard has come in. Should we just kill him? Someone used their divine sense to communicate. I heard that he has the ability to kill people above his level. He can easily kill a heavenly king. Another person said in a deep voice, We are all in the heavenly emperor realm. Can't we kill him? Besides, we are not the only ones in the Thunder Secret Plane. There are also powerful heavenly venerables. This kid is dead. This little bastard has many magic treasures on him. As long as we kill him, the sacred tool will naturally belong to the college. But the other treasures will be owned by the person who kills him. We have to make a move first. Otherwise, if he is killed by others, we won't get anything. That's true. Several people discussed for a while, then soared into the air and chased after Murongyu. At the same time, more people also found Murongyu and attacked him one by one. Murongyu stopped in the air with a frown on his face. He knew that he would definitely be harassed by the students of Abyssal College, but he didn't expect so many people to come at him at the same time. They were full of killing intent. They wanted to kill him. These people are too impatient. Murongyu glanced at these people indifferently and sneered in his heart. Not only were these people impatient, but they were also weak. Some of them were in the Heavenly Emperor realm, and some were even in the Heavenly King realm. Murong-Yu's primal god lattice had already reached the peak of the Heavenly King realm. He was extremely powerful and could kill people in the same realm with a punch. Once 2 of the 3 god lattices were activated, he could easily kill ordinary heavenly emperors. If he activated the power of soul chasing, killing a primordial god wouldn't be a problem. But there were no primordial god existences among these people. These people are courting death. Murong-Yu hid the internal conflict and sneered. A trace of killing intent flashed across the depths of his eyes. However, he didn't go on a killing spree. His purpose in coming here was to improve his strength, not to kill. If he wanted to kill someone, he had to at least increase his strength. Otherwise, wouldn't this trip be a waste? Moreover, Murong-Yu was sure that the people of Abyssal College were watching him, but the people of Primeval College definitely didn't know what was going on. These people might have been ordered by Abyssal College to charge at him. People of Primeval College? Kid, is this a place where you can enter? If you want to cultivate here, hand over a certain amount of treasures. Otherwise, you can leave this place right now. A heavenly emperor walked over and said coldly to Murong-Yu, "You should be a 6th-year student of Abyssal College." Murong-Yu found it funny. "Who do you think you are?" The fact that I was able to enter this place was naturally because I obtained the approval of your Heaven Wasteland Academy. If you aren't afraid of death, then come with me. Before he finished speaking, Murong-Yu had already soared into the sky. He spread his angelic wings and turned into a stream of light, disappearing from everyone's sight. Asterisk rumble. Asterisk just after he left, countless terrifying powers poured down. It was the people who had surrounded him that made their move first. However, what made them depressed was that Murong-Yu had already left before they could unleash their powers. In the end, they could only hit empty air. Chase after him. Everyone was enraged, and they all chased after him. However, Murong-Yu's speed was extremely fast. Although he rushed up in a straight line, how could the people behind him be as fast as him? Damn, this bastard cultivation level isn't high, but his body is so abnormal. The lightning power here is too terrifying. I can't go any further. Not long after, someone stopped. The lightning power was getting more and more terrifying. Some heavenly kings could no longer withstand the terrifying pressure. In the end, only those who had reached the Heavenly Emperor realm rushed in. However, they could only stop after a short while. They didn't dare to step into the lightning pool. A bunch of trash with just you guys. Murong-Yu's eyes flashed with cold, killing intent. These people dared to intercept and kill him. They were already on his must-kill list. 10,000 years later, he would go on a killing spree and even take away this secret lightning plane. Didn't Abyssal College have designs on him? Then let Abyssal College go for wool and come home shorn. Suhao's eyes flickered with a cold light. He accelerated towards the depths. This little bastard's speed and physical body are actually so strong. In a certain hall of Abyssal College, some big shots of Abyssal College looked at Murong-Yu in the huge mirror in front of the hall with gloomy expressions. Perhaps only heavenly venerables can kill an ancient god. However, this kid actually went deep into the lightning's secret ground. He's simply courting death. These bastards were indeed watching Murong-Yu in the dark. Murong-Yu, where are you going? A figure suddenly appeared in front of Murong-Yu, blocking his path and saying with a murderous aura, "An ancient god." Murong-Yu's figure flickered, and he turned into a stream of light and rushed out from the side. Although the ancient god in front of him was 2 realms higher than him, Murong-Yu could kill him in a short period of time. However, once he killed this person, even more people would come to kill him. Once he was entangled, how would he have time to cultivate? Besides, once he killed more people, who knew if the big shots of Abyssal College would stop him? Thus, he avoided the primordial god and shot deeper into the primordial god. This time, he raised his speed to the limit and shook off the primordial god in the blink of an eye. This kid is quite cunning. He actually didn't make a move. A big shot of Abyssal College mocked. As long as he's in the lightning's secret ground, he won't be able to escape our control. If we want him to die, He has to die. However, before that, we must make sure that he has a sacred artifact. Otherwise, our efforts will be in vain. Another big shot of Abyssal College said coldly, whether or not he has a sacred artifact, we still need those students to try. I hope these guys don't disappoint us. Another big shot said indifferently, after the ancient god appeared, so did the celestial venerable powerhouses. However, Moronyu only focused on escaping. Moreover, the lightning power in the area where Moronyu was becoming more and more violent. Even those Empyrean powerhouses could no longer withstand the power of the lightning. How could their physical bodies compare to Muronyu's freakish physical body? In the area where the celestial venerables had to use all their strength to resist, Muronyu's speed was basically unaffected. With a swoosh, he left the celestial venerables in the dust. This caused the celestial venerables' faces to turn ashen. They wanted nothing more than to slap Moronyu to death. Weren't they here to kill Moronyu? Even Moronyu's supreme divine artifact body was starting to feel strained as he sensed the increasingly violent lightning power. Even the quasi-saint will find it hard to resist now, right? But for safety's sake, I still need to go deeper. Seeing Moronyu walk straight into the depths of the lightning's secret ground, the big shots of Abyssal College all had ugly expressions. Even a quasi-saint wouldn't necessarily be able to withstand the lightning in those areas. Just what level has this bastard's body reached? Is it a high or supreme divine artifact? A supreme divine artifact? Everyone was in disbelief. However, if it wasn't for his supreme divine artifact body, how could Moronyu have gone so deep with his strength? Was it because of his sacred artifact? The eyes of the big shots of Abyssal College all shone brightly. Suddenly, a big shot on the level of a quasi-saint stepped forward and rushed out of the hall. Was he going to attack Moronyu? Chapter 10-11. The secret plane controlled by each force had more than one entrance and exit. This was a defensive measure taken just in case. Some secret planes even had multiple entrances and exits, except for the chaotic secret plane, which was jointly controlled by many forces. A quasi-saint from Abyssal College left the hall and rushed outside. Looking at his murderous look, it was almost certain that he was going to kill Moronyu. However, this super expert was soon stopped. Don't be in a hurry to kill Moronyu for now. Otherwise, Primeval College will definitely turn against us. Before Moronyu entered the lightning secret plane, they had already emphasized that the lightning secret plane was full of unknown dangers. However, Moronyu was very strong. How could he die as soon as he entered? If he really died, then even a blind person could tell that Abyssal College was the culprit. It won't be too late to do it after thousands of years. By then, Primeval College won't say anything. A big shot from Primeval College said faintly, his eyes flashing coldly. Therefore, the expert from Abyssal College didn't make a move for the time being, and those in the lightning secret plane couldn't get close to Moronyu at all. This is it. Moronyu tried his best to circulate the divine power in his body, frantically washing his body that had reached the level of a divine artifact. But even so, he was having difficulty moving at this time. The power of lightning was very violent. Even with Moronyu's strength and incomparably tough body, he was about to reach his limit. At this time, small cracks began to appear on Moronyu's extremely hard body. Even a trace of blood seeped out from his body. From afar, Moronyu looked like a man covered in blood. Moronyu found a suitable place and sat down directly. The extremely violent power of thunder and lightning constantly bombarded his body, and the result was completely different from that of the gravity secret ground. In the gravity secret plane, Moronyu's body could be improved because of the constant destruction and recombination. But here, the power of lightning was too violent. Even after destruction and recombination, it couldn't improve his body much. This was because he had devoured both sides of the lightning. After all, Moronyu came here mainly to improve his realm. Power of lightning, devour. After sitting down and adapting for a long time, Moronyu shouted in his heart and began to devour the power of lightning. Therefore, under his active devouring, the power of lightning began to surge wildly. The lightning energy, which was already dense to begin with, became even denser at this moment, submerging Murong Yu's entire body. Looking from afar, he couldn't even be seen. His body was rapidly collapsing his body. However, the power of lightning absorbed by lightning divinity was extremely terrifying. Murong Yu's power of lightning began to improve rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. At the same time, Murong Yu's life force began to frantically cleanse the flesh that had been destroyed by the incomparably violent lightning energy. This way, Murong Yu could raise the realm of his physical body while increasing the power of his lightning energy. Although the speed of improvement was extremely slow and almost invisible, it was still an improvement after all. Abyssal College, in the main hall. When the big shots of Abyssal College saw Murong Yu submerged in the power of lightning, they were all stunned. Is this brat crazy? Even a quasi-saint wouldn't dare to do this there. A big shot at the level of a quasi-saint said with a shocked face. Crazy, crazy. A little guy in the Lord of Heaven realm is actually so crazy. All of them were shocked, and those big shots who hadn't reached the Lord of Heaven realm were even more surprised, because with their strength, it was impossible for them to go deep into the area where Murong Yu was. Not to mention being submerged by so much power of lightning. The big shots at the level of a quasi-saint from Abyssal College also had very ugly expressions. Their faces were gloomy, and they were all wondering if they should go in and kill Murong Yu. Otherwise, if Murong Yu continued to go deeper, even a quasi-saint wouldn't dare to go in. It should be known that although the power of lightning wasn't the power of tribulation lightning, it was still the power of lightning. Even so, they were still sky lightning. It was a power that all cultivators feared. Moreover, the power of lightning was extremely violent and difficult to defend against. Boom! While the people of Abyssal College were shocked, Murong Yu's body in the depths of the lightning's secret area shook violently, and a powerful aura burst out. This seemingly powerful aura was quickly submerged by the endless power of lightning. However, the people of Abyssal College still discovered it. Suddenly, their expressions became even more unsightly. Murong Yu's lightning divinity had broken through the peak stage of the Heaven Monarch realm and reached the early stage of the Heavenly King realm. He was originally known as the Lightning Divinity. So after the Lightning Divinity broke through, his cultivation level also rose to the early stage of the Heavenly King realm. Although his primal Chaos God Lattice had already reached the peak stage of the Heavenly King realm, he had been suppressing his cultivation level. It feels good to have such a powerful and boundless power to devour. Otherwise, God knows how long it would take for the Lightning Divinity to break through to the Heavenly King realm. Feeling the powerful power, Murong Yu stood up happily and continued to walk into the depths of the lightning secret area. After breaking through, the power of lightning here was no longer suitable for him to devour. He needed to find a stronger power of lightning. This kid is advancing again. The big shots from Abyssal College gritted their teeth in anger. Originally, they only thought that Murong Yu would make use of this opportunity to break through to the early stage of the Heavenly King realm. Moreover, they didn't think that Murong Yu would be able to break through within 10,000 years. Therefore, when the Desolate Academy proposed to exchange secret planes, they immediately agreed without hesitation. However, when they saw that Murong Yu had broken through to the next realm in such a short time, they suddenly felt a little regretful and had a bad feeling. This was because they saw that the area Murong Yu had entered was a place that even the quasi-saint level experts of Abyssal College rarely stepped into. However, when they saw that Murong Yu seemed to be taking a stroll in the park, they were greatly shocked. Damn it, this kid is definitely going to die. I'm going to kill him now. One of the quasi-saint level experts was filled with killing intent as he stood up and was about to rush out. Wait a moment, let's see what this kid is doing. Another quasi-saint level expert shouted, because at this time, Murong Yu was walking straight ahead with big strides. In the thunder and lightning secret area, Muronyu's lightning divinity was trembling slightly. It seemed to be very excited. Would godhood be the same? Muronyu had never heard of it, but at this time, the lightning divinity was indeed very excited. It seemed that there was something in front of them that was attracting the lightning divinity. Ichu, what's going on? Muronyu stopped because the power of thunder and lightning in front of them was too violent. Although his resistance to the power of thunder and lightning has become stronger after his breakthrough, the power of thunder and lightning is also more violent than before. There seems to be something in front of us that is attracting the lightning divinity. Could it be the heart of thunder and lightning? Ichu's eyes flickered as he said in a deep voice, "What is the heart of thunder and lightning?" Muronyu displayed his shameless spirit and quickly asked, "It is a special existence, like the mother of a divine crystal, that can give birth to the power of thunder and lightning. If you can get the heart of thunder and lightning and refine it into the lightning divinity, you won't have to worry about the power of thunder and lightning in the future." Muronyu's eyes suddenly lit up as he looked ahead. This thunder and lightning secret area must have been formed because of the heart of thunder and lightning. If you take the heart of thunder and lightning, then this secret area will be ruined. Muronyu laughed and said, "The people of Abyssal College actually dare to have ideas about me. I was still worried about how to make them go for wool and come home shorn. Now, I'll go take the heart of thunder and lightning and let them cry. You should continue to increase your strength. Otherwise, you won't be able to get close to the depths. However, since you can sense the existence of the heart of thunder and lightning, it means that you are very close to it. The secret area should be reaching the end soon." "That's right." Muronyu laughed and immediately sat down in a meditative position to crazily absorb the power of thunder and lightning. Muronyu's cultivation was rapidly increasing, and this was a good thing for Muronyu. However, it was not a good thing for the people of Abyssal College. What kind of monster is this brat? His cultivation speed is too terrifying. A big shot from Abyssal College said in a deep voice. At this time, no one dared to say that they wanted to enter the secret area to kill Muronyu. This was because this was a place where the top experts would take action. Otherwise, an ordinary quasi-saint wouldn't be able to reach the area where Muronyu is located. Even if they could reach that area, they wouldn't be able to kill Muronyu. After all, they were able to enter the secret area because all their strength was used to defend against the violent power of thunder and lightning. How could they have any strength left to kill Muronyu? Why do I feel like I've been deceived? A big shot from Abyssal College said in a speechless manner. They had sent a student to Primeval College who was also in the early stage of the Heavenly Monarch realm and had also been there for 10,000 years. However, they didn't think that the student could break through to the Heavenly Monarch realm in 10,000 years. At this time, Muronyu's cultivation was infinitely close to the middle stage of the Heavenly Monarch realm. This brat's cultivation won't keep increasing, right? Many big shots from Abyssal College had a bad feeling in their hearts. Maybe he can only reach the middle stage of the Heavenly Monarch realm. Someone said so, but his tone was uncertain. While the people from Abyssal College were feeling depressed, Muronyu, who had been sitting on the ground and absorbing the power of thunder and lightning, stood up and roared. Middle stage of the Heavenly Monarch realm. It had only been 1,000 years since he entered the secret area of thunder and lightning. In 1,000 years, he had broken through the barrier of a major realm and advanced 2 minor realms. This speed made even the big shots from Primeval College jealous. Chapter 10-12. Middle Stage, Heavenly King. After stabilizing his realm, Muronyu once again walked into the depths of the Thunder's secret ground. Seeing Muronyu going deeper and deeper, many big shots of Abyssal College looked gloomy and murderous. One reason was that they felt that they had been cheated by Primeval College. It had only been 1,000 years, but he had risen from the peak of the Heavenly Monarch realm to the middle stage Heavenly King realm. Another reason was Muronyu's monstrous talent. Wasn't that too terrifying? He was already so terrifying before he even grew up. Once he grew up, wouldn't the entire heavenly realm belong to him? Even if he couldn't dominate the world, with such a monstrous talent in Primeval College, Abyssal College could only be suppressed by Primeval College for a long time and never be able to rise again. This kid must be killed. Everyone from Abyssal College looked at Murong-Yu with murderous eyes. They couldn't wait to slap Murong-Yu to death. However, none of them could go deep into the area where Murong-Yu is now. Only people at the level of the Bloody Butcher could do it. However, would such a person kill Murong-Yu? Maybe. However, the experts at Abyssal College's level were all in seclusion to break through to the Sage Realm. They didn't have time to care about such things. Every time Murong-Yu reached his limit, he would stop and sit on the ground to cultivate. Then, when his strength increased and he could withstand more pressure, he would continue to move forward. Just like that, as time passed, Murong-Yu went deeper and deeper into the Thunder's secret ground, and his strength became stronger and stronger. Finally, on the 5,000th year since he entered the Thunder secret ground, he successfully broke through to the late-stage Heavenly King realm. Seeing this, the people from Abyssal College gnashed their teeth in anger. However, they could do nothing but feel anxious. After breaking through to the peak of the Heavenly King realm, the power in Murong-Yu's body was extremely strong. Although it was still speechless when compared with the power of thunder and lightning of the Thunder and Lightning secret ground, it was much stronger than the powerhouses of the same realm. At this moment, every inch of Murong-Yu's flesh and bones were not only burning with the flame of primal chaos, but there were also traces of the power of lightning, the power of black lightning. The two completely different types of energy were clearly separated in Murong-Yu's body, and they minded their own business. In fact, there was also the power of space. However, the spatial godhead was still at the heavenly monarch realm, and it couldn't compare to the power of the other two godheads. Not far ahead should be the end of this secret lightning zone, right? The Thunderbolt core should be there. Murong-Yu frowned as he looked at the extremely violent Thunderbolt force in front of him. They were only one step apart, but the gap between them was like heaven and earth. In the area where Murong-Yu was, although the Thunderbolt force was violent, it was still within his range of tolerance. However, as long as he took a step forward, the violent Thunderbolt force in front of him was very likely to tear him to shreds. It was a place that even 10th-level Quasi-Saints did not dare to enter, not even daring to take half a step into the lightning pool. It was the most dangerous place in the entire secret lightning zone. Even Abyssal College didn't know what was inside. Late-stage Heavenly King realm. This kid is really something, a big shot from Abyssal College sneered. What is he going to do? Is he going to enter that dangerous place? Another big shot frowned. Hearing this, everyone looked at Murong-Yu's appearance in the mirror, and a worried look appeared on their faces. They weren't afraid that Murong-Yu would enter that dangerous place and discover some secret. In fact, they didn't know what was inside because they couldn't see it all. However, they were worried. That was a place that even a 10th Order Quasi-Saint wouldn't dare to set foot in. If Murong-Yu died there, then wouldn't his saint tools and other treasures all fall into that place? That's right. They were worried that after Murong-Yu died, they wouldn't be able to obtain his treasures. Why would they care about Murong-Yu's life and death? No, it should be said that they were extremely concerned about Murong-Yu's life and death. They couldn't wait to kill Murong-Yu. Otherwise, they wouldn't feel at ease leaving such a potential enemy alive. If there's a Thunderbolt core, it must be inside, Murong-Yu muttered. Although he didn't know what the Thunderbolt core was, if even Hichu said it was a treasure, it was definitely something good. Immediately, Murong-Yu took out the Yin-Yang cauldron and let it float above his head. Endless flame of primal chaos burst out from the Yin-Yang cauldron. It poured down like a waterfall, submerging Murong-Yu and surrounding him. Although the flame of primal chaos that erupted from the Yin-Yang cauldron after Murong-Yu had recognized it as its master could not be compared to the flame of primal chaos before it had recognized him as its master. However, it managed to block off a portion of the lightning power, which instantly reduced the pressure on Murong-Yu. This is the Saint Artifact. When the students of Abyssal College saw the Yin-Yang cauldron, their eyes widened. They stared at the cauldron greedily, as if they couldn't wait to snatch it. However, they could only think about it. They had no way of snatching it. After bringing out the yin-yang cauldron, Muronyu also secretly brought out the Hichu Luo Shu, which transformed into a piece of clothing and covered his body. The reason for this was that Muronyu didn't want others to discover the Hichu Luo Shu. After all, many people had seen the yin-yang cauldron and knew that it was in his hands. However, no one knew about the Hichu Luo Shu. Naturally, Muronyu didn't need to expose it. With the protection of two treasures that surpassed the Saint artifact level, Muronyu stepped into the so-called Land of Peril. Just as he stepped into the Land of Peril, he disappeared from the sight of the big shots of Abyssal College. The people of Abyssal College couldn't see what was going on in the Land of Peril. Rumble. Just as he stepped into the danger zone, waves of berserk energy surged in from all directions. At this moment, Muronyu was like a catkin in the middle of a gale, being tossed back and forth by the shock waves. He was like a lone boat in a stormy sea that could be torn apart at any time. Muronyu staggered and couldn't stabilize his body at all. Immediately, with a thought, the yin-yang cauldron erupted with a powerful aura. The flame of primal chaos crazily spewed out, firmly protecting him. At the same time, the Hichu Luoshu emitted a faint yellow divine light, protecting Muronyu. After activating the power of the two treasures, Muronyu's body was finally able to stand steadily in place. At this moment, Muronyu finally had the chance to look at his surroundings. In this place, he didn't dare to extend his divine sense. Once it left his body, it would be crushed by the violent force of lightning. However, the area Muronyu was in was completely filled with lightning. As far as the eye could see, there were violent arcs of lightning everywhere. His line of sight was less than 10 meters. Muronyu stood in place, narrowing his eyes as he tried to sense it. After entering this land of peril, the lightning divinity trembled with excitement and didn't stop. It's right in front. Muronyu's eyes flashed with a flash of lightning. He immediately took large strides forward. Although he was taking large strides, Muronyu's speed was actually extremely slow. After all, the force of lightning here was too terrifying, and the resistance was too great. After several days, Muronyu had only crossed a few kilometers. Finally, a fist-sized crystal appeared in front of him. It was a piece of crystal the size of a crystal with electric arcs flashing all over its body. Rather than calling it a crystal, it would be better to call it a crystal formed by lightning. Waves of incomparably vast lightning energy were constantly being emitted from this place. Muronyu suppressed the crazily trembling lightning divinity, a trace of pleasant surprise on his face. Is this the lightning core? Yes, this is the lightning core. Now you only need to refine it into the lightning divinity and refine it together with the lightning divinity. In the future, you won't lack the power of lightning. Hichu's pleasantly surprised voice sounded in Muronyu's ears. Muronyu, on the other hand, furrowed his brows. The power of this lightning core was extremely violent. Muronyu had two supreme treasures protecting his body, but he still couldn't bear it. Cracks appeared on his body from the pressure. If he refined this thing into his body wouldn't be able to bear it at all and would directly explode. After knowing Muronyu's thoughts, Hichu couldn't help but roll his eyes and almost faint. He finally understood that no matter how heaven-defying one's talent was, no matter how smart one was, there would be times when one was stupid. Immediately, he said speechlessly, "I only said to refine it, not to directly stuff the lightning core into your body. After refining it, the lightning core will be tamed by you like a divine weapon." But how should I do it? Muronyu smiled embarrassedly. However, when he saw the lightning core again, Muronyu felt that the lightning core was like a hedgehog, and he didn't know where to start. Take out your lightning divinity and try to fuse it with the lightning core. Hichu said helplessly. Will the godhead be directly crushed? Muronyu was indeed a little worried. It shouldn't be if you're careful. Moreover, your lightning divinity is so excited. Muronyu pondered for a moment. If the lightning divinity is crushed, there will be at least two godheads. As the saying goes, you can't trap a wolf without risking your child. Let's go all out. Murong gritted his teeth and directly took out the lightning divinity that was trembling crazily in his body. Whoosh! As soon as Murong took out the lightning divinity turned into a stream of light and shot toward the lightning core. Murong was shocked. It shouldn't be crushed, right? Murong reached out his big hand to grab the lightning divinity, but he didn't have the speed at all. He wanted to take it back, but he couldn't control it at all. It's over, it's over. Murong sighed with a gloomy expression. Bang! While Murong was sighing, the lightning divinity had already collided with a lightning core fiercely, exploding with an earth-shattering bang. The scene of the godhead being crushed, as Murong imagined, did not happen. In fact, he didn't even feel anything strange about the lightning divinity. Chapter 10:13. After the deafening noise, Murong saw divine light burst out all over the sky. Lightning flashed, and a dazzling light soared into the sky. At this moment, Murong's eyes narrowed slightly. He couldn't even see anything in front of him. Murong was shocked. With a thought, the Inyang Cauldron and Hichu Luoshu burst out with an incomparably powerful force, enveloping his whole body. At the same time, the entire secret lightning zone was shrouded in dazzling divine light. In just a moment, the eyes of everyone in the secret lightning zone seemed to be blinded. They couldn't see anything. Everyone was shocked. They didn't know what was going on. After the dazzling divine light, they found that the entire secret lightning zone seemed to be collapsing. Like the cycle of heaven and earth, the power of thunder and lightning became more and more terrifying. The void of the entire secret lightning zone began to collapse and shatter. Abyssal College, in the main hall. Countless big shots of Abyssal College couldn't help but jump up. They looked at the mirror that began to collapse and shatter. They didn't know what was going on. What's going on? Why is the secret lightning zone collapsing? The big shots of Abyssal College roared. But who could answer this question? Bang! While they were still in shock and confusion, the huge mirror that had been conjured in the hall suddenly shattered into millions of pieces. Suddenly, they couldn't see anything in the secret lightning zone. What's going on? Is the secret lightning zone collapsing? The big shots of Abyssal College finally panicked. They looked at each other. Then, their figures flashed and disappeared from the main hall. At the same time that the huge mirror shattered, in the courtyard of Abyssal College, which was full of teleportation formations leading to various secret lands, a huge crack suddenly appeared in the sky. Then, one figure after another spurted out from the crack like a fountain. Screams and screams rose one after another. People fell to the ground one after another. In just a moment, tens of thousands of people appeared in the courtyard. If it wasn't for the fact that the courtyard was quite big, it would have been crowded by these people. What's going on? Seeing tens of thousands of disciples in Abyssal College's uniform being spurted out of the void, the students in the courtyard who were preparing to enter some secret lands, and even the experts guarding the teleportation formations, were all surprised. Even the Bloody Butcher and the others who were resting with their eyes closed suddenly opened their eyes. Unlike those ignorant people, the Bloody Butcher only needed a glance to know what was going on. The secret land collapsed and shattered. These people were spurted out of the collapsed secret land. Something similar had happened in the Desolate Institute as well. The Bloody Butcher sneered inwardly. The collapse of a secret plane meant that the Heaven Wasteland Academy had one less secret plane. This was a good thing for his rival, the Primordial Desolate Academy. However, just as they sneered, they seemed to think of something, and their faces changed instantly. Immediately, the Bloody Butcher stretched out his hand and grabbed a celestial master who had fallen not far from him. He immediately asked, "Which secret land were you in before?" "The secret land of thunder." The celestial master who had been spurted out of the secret land was scared half to death. After being caught by the Bloody Butcher, he was about to get angry, but when he saw the Bloody Butcher's eyes exuding a terrible killing intent, his anger was extinguished in an instant. At the same time, he said without hesitation. The secret land of thunder. The Bloody Butcher and Xiang Sungwu's faces suddenly changed. At the same time, their divine senses burst out and covered the whole courtyard in an instant. However, they didn't see Murong Yu's figure. Immediately, they had a bad feeling in their hearts. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this time, countless figures appeared in the courtyard out of thin air. As soon as they appeared, they immediately rushed to the teleportation formation of the secret land of thunder and began to inspect it. It's over. The secret land of thunder and lightning has really collapsed and broken. The teleportation formation can't be sensed anymore. A quasi-saint of Abyssal College said with a gloomy face. The other bigwigs of Abyssal College didn't believe it and rushed up one by one. However, their faces soon turned gloomy because they couldn't sense the secret land of thunder and lightning either. Moreover, they all confirmed that there was no problem with the teleportation formation. A terrible killing intent erupted in an instant, first enveloping the whole courtyard, then spreading to the whole of Abyssal College. At this moment, the souls of all the students and teachers of Abyssal College seemed to have been frozen by this terrible killing intent. An incomparably strong aura of death instantly filled everyone's heart. It was extremely terrifying. Plop! Countless people suddenly fell to the ground, their faces pale and their eyes full of fear. They didn't know what had happened. Oh no! The first to react were the bigwigs of Abyssal College in the courtyard. They all looked at the Bloody Butcher in the courtyard at the same time. At this moment, the Bloody Butcher's entire body was shrouded in a blood-red aura, and a terrible killing intent erupted from his body. Powerful divine senses locked onto the people in the courtyard, and a murderous aura burst out. I hope that you can give me a satisfactory explanation. Otherwise, today's Abyssal College will turn into a river of blood. The Bloody Butcher looked coldly at the people of Abyssal College. His voice was as cold as ice and contained an extremely strong, killing intent. The hearts of the people of Abyssal College thumped, and a terrible, killing intent flashed through their hearts. One of the bigwigs of Abyssal College took a step forward and looked at the Bloody Butcher with a gloomy expression. The Bloody Butcher, this is an accident. At the same time, he swept the courtyard with his divine sense, and his heart immediately sank. He didn't see Murongyu. After realizing this, the bigwigs of Abyssal College all had gloomy expressions. They felt the monstrous killing intent of the Bloody Butcher. They knew that if they didn't give the Bloody Butcher a satisfactory answer today, the Bloody Butcher would definitely slaughter everyone in Abyssal College. If it was someone else, they definitely wouldn't do such a thing. But this person was the Bloody Butcher. Hey, it's an accident. All of you from Abyssal College came out safe and sound, except for Murongyu. The Bloody Butcher took a step forward, and his killing intent became even stronger. I don't care what method you use, but you must thoroughly investigate the secret lightning zone. You must save Murongyu. One of the bigwigs of Abyssal College roared. Therefore, the bigwigs of Abyssal College began to use their methods to sense the secret lightning zone. However, no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't sense the secret lightning zone. Suddenly, they were so anxious that their foreheads were covered in sweat. If Murongyu had really died, then today's Heaven Wasteland Academy would have been flooded with rivers of blood and mountains of corpses. The Bloody Butcher took a deep breath, and his killing intent became even more violent. At the same time, Xiang Sungwu and the other quasi-saint from Primeval College were also rapidly increasing their auras. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Sensing the terrifying killing intent of the Bloody Butcher and the other two, many quasi-saint from Abyssal College were alarmed. Even some super powerhouses who were in seclusion rushed out. The Bloody Butcher, you're too presumptuous. A powerhouse appeared out of nowhere and coldly looked at the Bloody Butcher with a sneer. 10th Order Quasi-Saint. Seeing the newcomer, the bigwigs of Abyssal College let out a sigh of relief. However, the Bloody Butcher frowned slightly. Shura, a top powerhouse from Abyssal College. His seniority was much higher than the Bloody Butcher's. He was a top powerhouse from Abyssal College, a 10th Order quasi-saint. Speaking of Shura, his fame in the divine realm was not below that of the Bloody Butcher. In fact, he was even more famous. Shuras were ferocious and aggressive demons. Einherjars were the gods of martial arts. Those who could be called Einherjars were all people with top-notch strength. Moreover, their comprehension and control of martial arts and battle experience were top-notch. And the person in front of them was called Shura. One could only imagine how terrifying his strength was. According to legend, Shura was already one step into the realm of saints. His strength was far beyond that of an ordinary 10th Order quasi-saint. Therefore, even the Bloody Butcher couldn't help but frown slightly when facing him. About the lightning secret area, it was purely an accident. Do you have any objections? Or do you want to take the opportunity to cause trouble? Shura looked at the Bloody Butcher and said indifferently, domineering, overbearing. Many of Abyssal College's bigwigs wanted to say this to the Bloody Butcher, but apart from Shura, no one dared to say it. The Bloody Butcher frowned slightly, and his killing intent became even more intense. If I kill you and tell others that it was an accident, would you believe me? Now that the lightning secret area has completely collapsed, Muronyu has disappeared. Perhaps he was ground to dust along with the collapse of the secret area, or perhaps he has fallen into the endless spatial turbulence. Although it was an accident, our Abyssal College also has a certain degree of responsibility. We will now do everything we can to find Muronyu. What do you think? Without waiting for the Bloody Butcher to speak, Shura continued. If you still have any objections, then let's settle it with our fists. The implication of Shura's words was that if you don't agree, then we will beat you until you agree. Hearing Shura's words, the bigwigs of Primeval College were secretly pleased. But the Bloody Butcher was not happy. He took a step forward and sneered. I've long wanted to experience Shura's strength. Today is a good opportunity to do so. Shura narrowed his eyes slightly, and a cold, killing intent flashed in his eyes. How long has it been since someone dared to say this to me? Immediately, he sneered, took a step forward, and said indifferently, I've long heard that the Bloody Butcher is very powerful. Today, I'd like to experience it. The confrontation between the top powerhouses of the two colleges was on the verge of breaking out. Chapter 10:14. The Bloody Butcher and Shura were both top-notch experts in their respective academies, and perhaps even in the entire God Realm. At this moment, the two of them were ready to fight at any moment. Everyone else looked at the two top-notch experts nervously, especially the people from Abyssal College. Their faces gradually turned serious, and the big shots even sent out messages, causing the whole of Abyssal College to fall into a state of shock. Even the shock waves from the battle between the two of them could destroy Abyssal College, or even some small continents. If the two of them fought here, Abyssal College would definitely be razed to the ground. When that happened, only the three great academies would be left standing in the God Realm. Cough! Just as the two top experts were about to draw their swords, a dry cough was heard. There wasn't anything special about the sound. It was just like a normal person's dry cough, and it wasn't loud either. However, when the dry cough reached everyone's ears, these people, including the Bloody Butcher and Shura, couldn't help but tremble violently. At this moment, it was as if their souls had been frozen. They couldn't move. It was as if they had been suppressed. Had their souls been suppressed by a dry cough? Horror. Everyone present, including Shura, had a look of horror on their faces. At their level of strength, unless it was a saint, how could there be anyone in the God realm capable of suppressing their souls with a dry cough? Could it be that the one who made the dry cough was a saint? Everyone from Abyssal College looked towards the source of the sound. The one who made the dry cough was Primeval College's quasi-saint, who hadn't revealed himself and hadn't even spoken a word. Unlike the shocked people from Abyssal College, the Bloody Butcher's berserk aura instantly disappeared when Quasi-Saint let out that dry cough. Even his strength was completely withdrawn into his body. He took a step back and arrived behind the Quasi-Sage. Then, he stood respectfully where he was. At this moment, Primeval College's quasi-saint said faintly, "Little Blood, your temper is still so fiery. It's about time you changed it." Yes, the ferocious bloodhand butcher, who was like a god of slaughter in ancient times, was now like a docile lamb. He respectfully bowed and replied, "Yes, I'm very happy." Seeing this scene, everyone present, except for Xiang Xingyu, had a face full of shock, and their jaws dropped to the ground. Just who is this old man? How could he make the infamous The Bloody Butcher act so respectfully? Everyone looked at the quasi-saint whose face couldn't be seen clearly, and their hearts were filled with doubt. However, some important figures from Abyssal College seemed to have guessed something, and their expressions began to change. This was especially true for martial god Shura. "You are?" Shura suddenly exclaimed. Looking at the Primeval College's quasi-saint, his heart was filled with horror. As he spoke, he involuntarily took a few steps back and looked at the quasi-saint with vigilance. Seeing Shura's appearance, the important figures from Abyssal College finally realized something. Their pupils suddenly dilated as they looked at the Primeval College's quasi-saint. Just like Shura, they were so frightened that they took a few steps back. Even the Bloody Butcher couldn't scare them off, but this seemingly ordinary quasi-saint was able to scare off the famous Shura, who was even more famous than the Bloody Butcher. Just who was he? How could he have such terrifying strength? Had Moronyu really been swallowed by the collapsed and shattered space? Or had he been thrown into space turbulence? When Moronyu released the lightning divinity rushed out and collided with the Thunderbolt core. Then, before Moronyu could react, he found that the lightning divinity and the Thunderbolt core were stuck together. Moronyu was instantly shocked. He didn't know what was going on. Even Hichu was shocked. He had never seen or even heard of such a strange thing. However, what surprised Moronyu was that although the lightning divinity and the Thunderbolt core had been stuck together, he didn't feel any danger from the lightning divinity. Even when the lightning divinity and the Thunderbolt core were stuck together, Moronyu felt that the impact of the surrounding thunder and lightning on him had weakened a little, although the thunder and lightning power was more violent. What's going on? Moronyu frowned slightly as he looked at the Thunderbolt core and the lightning divinity stuck together. His face was full of worry. "I seem to feel that the lightning divinity is swallowing the Thunderbolt core. Hichu, have you heard of such a situation?" Moronyu was really shocked. For a long time, the Godhead was just an existence that stored divine power. It was indestructible. Although it could directly swallow and refine power, how could it swallow other things? At the very least, Moronyu had never heard of such a thing. Hichu was also shocked. He had also never heard of such a thing. Could it be that my lightning divinity is special? Moronyu frowned slightly. After thinking for a while, he felt that his lightning divinity was just an ordinary godhead. It was the same as the lightning divinity that ordinary people condensed. There was nothing special about it. However, would ordinary godheads take the initiative to swallow the Thunderbolt core? That was impossible. Your lightning divinity is definitely special. Think about it carefully. Hichu stared at the lightning divinity that was swallowing the Thunderbolt core and revealed an astonished expression. Moronyu frowned slightly. Moronyu had a primal chaos celestial body and cultivated the primal chaos celestial body record. If he wanted to condense a godhead, under normal circumstances, he could only condense the primal chaos godhead, which was the king of godheads. However, when Moronyu condensed a godhead, he condensed the spatial godhead and the lightning divinity at the same time. He condensed the spatial godhead because he cultivated the Xi formula. But what about the lightning divinity? Could it be because I was struck by lightning many times? In the beginning, Moronyu didn't know any lightning-type techniques. Back in the cultivation world, after he used the heavenly tribulation to kill many experts, he was almost struck to death by a black energy. After narrowly escaping death, Moronyu began to control the power of lightning, the power of black lightning. Moronyu could even summon lightning to kill his enemies. Could it be that the lightning divinity that I comprehended is really different from ordinary godheads? It's not ordinary lightning. But tribulation lightning? Muronyu immediately voiced his guess. Hichu didn't say anything. After a long time, he slowly said, "It's also possible. Although the world thinks that the heavenly tribulation is controlled by the heavens, it's the power of the heavens. However, the power of the heavenly tribulation is also formed by the power of primal chaos, just like primal chaos fire. The black lightning that almost struck you to death should be a higher level tribulation lightning, directly formed by the power of primal chaos. I guess it's because you're a chaotic celestial body that you didn't get struck to death. On the contrary, you were reborn. If it were anyone else, they would have been reduced to ashes long ago." As if recalling that scene, Muronyu couldn't help but feel a lingering fear. Back then, he had nearly died. Perhaps it was just as he too had said. It was because of his chaos celestial body constitution that Mion's soap had died. If my lightning divinity is really related to tribulation lightning, how else can I explain this matter? Muronyu guessed and finally confirmed this idea. The space here is getting more and more violent, and it's even about to collapse. The existence of this space might be due to the heart of thunder. Once the lightning core is devoured, this space will cease to exist. We have to leave this place immediately, or we won't be able to teleport, Hichu suddenly said. Muronyu was shocked. He was originally focused on the lightning divinity and ignored the surrounding environment. Only then did he react and look around. Suddenly, he saw the nearby void begin to collapse in large areas. It was like the end of the world, but also like the reincarnation of heaven and earth. It was obvious that the lightning secret land was about to collapse. Hichu, take away the lightning core. Muronyu wanted to take back the lightning divinity, but he couldn't. Moreover, he would never give up on the lightning divinity. While speaking, Muronyu directly took out the Hichu Luo Shu, enveloping the lightning core and the lightning divinity. At the same time, he directly rushed into the Hichu Luo Shu world. This space was collapsing too much. If it was nighttime, he wouldn't be able to enter the Hichu Luo Shu world and would directly rush into the space turbulence. The lightning divinity was constantly devoured, and the lightning core erupted with even more violent thunder and lightning power, bombarding the surrounding void and constantly collapsing. However, he didn't know if it was because of the lightning divinity. Although these violent thunder and lightning power became more and more violent, the impact on Muronyu was getting smaller and smaller. Therefore, the Hichu Luoshu directly enveloped the lightning core. Finally, under the concerted efforts of Muronyu and Hichu, with a boom, the lightning core was absorbed into the Hichu Luoshu world. Boom! The moment the lightning core was absorbed into the Hichu Luoshu, Muronyu saw the entire thunder and lightning secret land begin to collapse completely. It almost collapsed in an instant. Suddenly, except for a small number of Abyssal College students who were expelled, most of the Abyssal College students were swept into the space turbulence. When most of the people were swept into the space turbulence, they were directly strangled and turned into powder. Only a very small number of people survived temporarily. These people were powerful people who had reached the heavenly venerable realm, or powerhouses whose physical bodies were as strong as low-grade divine artifacts. However, even if they had reached middle-grade divine artifacts, the physical body of a high-grade divine artifact could not survive for long in the space turbulence, let alone them. Soon, one by one, they were strangled by the space turbulence. In less than a few breaths, these people who fell into the space turbulence were all strangled, and not a single one was left. Muronyu also fell into the space turbulence. Chapter 10:15. So, this is spatial turbulence. Looking at the incomparably violent black energy outside, it felt like a lone boat in the middle of a stormy sea that could be torn apart at any time. The incomparably terrifying energy kept hitting the He-2 and the Book of the Luo, bombarding it until it seemed like the He-2 and the Book of the Luo was about to be torn apart. In truth, the spatial turbulence in the immortal realm was not very strong. Otherwise, the spatial barrier of the immortal realm would not be able to withstand it, and would be swallowed up by the spatial turbulence. Then the entire immortal realm would be destroyed, and not a single person would be left. Therefore, although the scene Murong saw was frightening, it had no effect on his peerless god artifact-level physical body. He even had the crazy thought of leaving Hichu Luoshu and experiencing the spatial turbulence outside. But now there was a serious problem. After entering the spatial turbulence, he realized that Hichu Luoshu could no longer sense any teleportation points. It was impossible even in the immortal realm, or even a cultivation realm. In fact, the moment he entered the spatial turbulence, his connection with the Yin Huang immortal realm and the 36 cultivation realms were all cut off. In other words, it was impossible for Murong Yu to use the natural source of the immortal realm and the cultivation realms to teleport out of the spatial turbulence. As for Murong Yu, he was currently in an incomparably vast space with no end or starting point. He had no sense of direction and was surrounded by raging spatial turbulence. Murong Yu was worried. Hichu, how are we going to go back? Find a way back. Hichu rolled his eyes and continued. Although spatial turbulence is not as boundless as chaos, it is still very vast. Even a rank 10 quasi-saint would not be able to find the end of the spatial turbulence, even if he used up his lifespan. Murong Yu's face darkened. According to Hichu, did that mean that they would never be able to go back? Although Murong Yu had a long lifespan, he could not cultivate in the spatial turbulence. If they could not find a way out, then they could only die here. Murong Yu felt a wave of bitterness. Moreover, if you enter the chaotic streams of space in the saint's world, you'll be obliterated in less than a 10,000th of an instant. Murong Yu felt even more bitter. Then how can we leave this place? Do you know what spatial turbulence is? Hichu suddenly asked, but before Murong Yu could answer, he continued, I don't think you know what spatial turbulence is. If a world is compared to an underwater city deep in the ocean, then the spatial turbulence is the seawater that surrounds the city in all directions. Although the underwater city was protected to a certain extent, once the people in the underwater city left the city and entered the sea, they would drown. Once the seawater gushed into the city, the people there would drown. The God realm, the immortal realm, and all the other worlds are underwater cities that have been submerged by the spatial turbulence. If you want to return to the God realm, then you have to find your world in this vast ocean, then break through the world barrier and return to the God realm. But if you want to find the God realm or other worlds in the spatial turbulence, the chances are as good as finding a grain of sand in the Ganges River. Murong Yu frowned slightly. This spatial turbulence was of no use to him. The main thing was to find the God realm or other worlds. Moreover, the spatial turbulence was extremely violent. He could not control his body at all. And during the time they were talking, Hichu Luoshu had already been blasted billions of miles away. I have to think of a way to go back. Murong Yu looked at lightning divinity who was devouring the lightning core behind him and could not help but frown slightly. The lightning core could not resist at all. It could only be devoured by lightning divinity. But Murong Yu knew that if lightning divinity wanted to completely devour the lightning core, it would take a very long time. At the very least, 1,000 years was indispensable. Moreover, Murong Yu also realized that even if he sped up time, he could not speed up lightning divinity's power. After the lightning godhead has completely devoured the lightning core, it will be able to automatically absorb the lightning force drifting between heaven and earth. Just like how the tree of life absorbs the power of primal chaos, it can provide you with an endless supply of power. In a battle, there is no possibility of its power being depleted. Murong Yu shook his head. Not to mention this, even if he could absorb a large amount of the power of lightning, it would be useless if he did not leave the spatial turbulence. I have to go out and find a way back. Murong Yu muttered to himself. After saying this to Hichu, he stepped out of Hichu Luoshu world. Previously, he did not dare to enter Hichu Luoshu when the space was unstable because he was worried that he would rush into the spatial turbulence. But now that he was in the spatial turbulence, how bad could the situation be? Murongyu's body was not damaged at all despite the violent spatial turbulence bombarding his body. With his body that had reached the level of a superb divine weapon, although there was still a lot of pressure to resist the spatial turbulence, it was not a problem. However, although he could resist the spatial turbulence, he was swayed from side to side by the impact of the spatial turbulence. He could not stabilize his body at all, and could only go with the flow. In the end, Murongyu took out Hichu Luoshu and the Inyan Cauldron again before he could barely stabilize his body. However, what made him helpless was that there was no direction at all. What made him feel terrified was that standing in the spatial turbulence, he could not feel the passage of time at all. It was as if time had stopped flowing, but also as if it had not moved since ancient times. But in fact, time was still flowing and his lifespan was also being consumed. If he could not leave this place, because there was no passage of time, he could not feel the loss of his lifespan at all. In the end, when the time came, he would die directly without knowing what had happened. Murongyu was not willing to die in the spatial turbulence like this. Therefore, he decided on a direction and shot off as fast as he could. Time continued to pass. Murongyu kept moving forward. He did not know how many billions of miles he had flown, but it was as if he had been motionless in the same place. It could not be helped. The spatial turbulence was the same everywhere. Even if he kept moving forward, because there was no reference point, or because the reference point was always the same, he did not know how much distance he had crossed. However, Murongyu decided on a direction and kept flying forward. However, was the direction in which he had been flying in the right direction? Or could it be that the direction he was flying in was the direction he had originally decided on? No one knew, not even Hichu. All of this depended on luck. At the same time, another big thing happened in the realm of the gods. Chapter 10:16. Murongyu frowned as he played with the dragon-shaped key in his hand. He had been studying the dragon-shaped key for half a day, but apart from sensing a mysterious aura coming from the key, he hadn't discovered anything else. Even Hichu hadn't discovered anything. Actually, Murongyu felt that Hichu had discovered something, but Hichu hadn't said anything. Murongyu naturally didn't think that Hichu was lying to him. If Hichu had discovered something and hadn't explained it to him, then it meant that the dragon-shaped key had a mysterious origin and contained an earth-shattering secret. It's best not to let anyone else know about this dragon-shaped key. Perhaps it's related to a treasure trove. Hichu's voice sounded in Murongyu's ears. Treasure trove. Secret. Even if all the treasures in Shadowless Treasury were added together, it wouldn't be enough to make Hichu so serious. In reality, those treasures were nothing in Hichu's eyes. The treasure Hichu spoke of would definitely be amazing. In the end, Murongyu took a deep breath and put the dragon-shaped key in a Hichu Luoshu before walking out of his courtyard. After spending a few months with Shengzhen, Zhao Jiqing, and the others, Murongyu once again returned to Primeval College. After all, the freshman competition between the four grade schools was about to begin. Seeing Murongyu swagger into Xiang Sungwu's room, the teachers, students, and guards all had looks of envy on their faces. Although Xiang Sungwu wasn't the dean of Primeval College, his status wasn't any lower than theirs. Normally, even Primeval College's classroom didn't have the right to enter his courtyard. However, Murongyu treated it as his own home and came in and out as he pleased. Most importantly, there were even a few times when people saw Xiang Sungwu smiling at Murongyu. Many people knew that Murongyu was definitely Xiang Sungwu and many other important people in Primeval College. Many people knew that Murongyu was definitely a talent that Primeval College focused on cultivating. Thus, over the past few days, many people had come over to express their goodwill. However, Murongyu didn't even bother to meet them and directly rejected them from 1,000 miles away. It wasn't that Murongyu was too arrogant, but that there was really no need to make friends with those people. As for power, he had Primeval College and Spectre, who in the entire God realm had such a terrifying background. As for forming his own power, Estes backgrounds is back. Those people were absolutely loyal to Murong-yu, so there was no need for him to accept the allegiance of those from the God Realm. Old Man Xiang, what are the benefits of this freshman competition? Murong-yu asked as he walked into the hall and sat down casually. There are many benefits. If you can get first place, you'll be rewarded with a holy artifact. Only a holy artifact? Murong-yu was uninterested. After looting the blood sects and shadowless treasuries, Murong-yu was no longer interested in holy artifacts. Of course, it's not just that. The first place will have the opportunity to enter a secret area jointly controlled by our 4 great colleges to cultivate for a period of time. Moreover, any student who participates in the competition will have the opportunity to cultivate in another secret area. Seeing that Murong-yu was still uninterested, Xiang Sung-woo continued. The secret area that the first place will enter. Every person who enters will advance by a realm after they come out. It's a realm, not a small one. Really? Murong-yu's interest was immediately piqued. Everyone can advance by a large realm? Murong-yu was currently worried about how to quickly increase his strength. If there really was such a secret area, he would fight for it no matter what. Xiang Sung-woo nodded. Old Man Xiang, just wait and see how I suppress the other 3 colleges. Murong-yu laughed, full of confidence. He had this confidence because all the people participating in the competition were at the Sky Realm. Weren't there Sky Monarch and Sky Sovereign Realm experts among the freshmen? Although these people were first-year students, they had already advanced during the 10,000 years that Murong-yu had been cultivating in the Gravity Secret Area. Their strength was not suitable for them to stay in the first year. The people participating in the trial were all first-year students at the Sky Marquee Realm. All the top 100 students in the competition were present. In fact, the original competition was to differentiate the rankings and prepare for this competition. Other than these 100 first-year students, there were also students from the other 5 years. This was because although this was only a competition between freshmen, there was also an exchange between the older students. With Xiang Sung-woo and over 100 primeval college teachers leading the way, Murong-yu and hundreds of people stepped onto the teleportation array and walked towards their destination. At the same time, the people from the various major forces in the Divine Realm who had the ability to pass through the barrier of the Endless Continent to watch this grand ceremony that only happened once every 1,000,000 years. This was because this time it was not only an exchange but also a ranking between the 4 great colleges. Therefore, this day, every 1,000,000 years was very lively. The Star Wilderness Continent was a continent several times larger than the Dream Wilderness Continent. It did not belong to the Wilderness, Great Desolation, or Tianwan Continent. It was the most chaotic and freest continent in the Divine Realm. Here, all kinds of trade were extremely prosperous, and there were experts from the 4 continents coming here to trade at all times. Of course, this place was extremely far away from the 4 continents of the Divine Realm. Even if there was a teleportation array, not everyone had the ability to come here. Therefore, other than the natives, the people from the 4 continents were either rich or noble. It could even be said that if a rock was thrown out in the Star Wilderness Continent, it could hit a person who could be a core or upper echelon of a super force. The Star Wilderness Continent was the largest city in the Star Wilderness Continent, and this city was a city that was jointly controlled by the 4 great colleges. Strictly speaking, this was the property of the 4 great colleges. When Murong-yu and the others were teleported to the Star Wilderness Continent, the Primeval College had already prepared everything and welcomed them to their property to settle down. The competition will officially begin in a month. During this time, you can move about in the city, but it's best if you don't leave the Star Wilderness Continent. A Primeval College teacher warned his host with a serious expression. The Star Wilderness Continent was extremely chaotic, and killing and robbing were crazier and more serious than any other continent. And although Murong-yu and the others were strong in the same realm, they were still in the Sky Realm. Once they left the Star Wilderness Continent, it was very likely that they would be robbed and killed. And these 100 people were the most outstanding disciples among the tens of millions of people. So the death of any one of them would be a great loss. However, such a situation would not occur in the Star Wilderness continent. After all, the 4 great colleges had experts overseeing this place. So who would dare to make a move? The crowd quickly dispersed, and Qin Shaowei began to cultivate. It was not a last-minute effort, but a coincidental comprehension. Therefore, Murong Yu declined some people's invitations, left the courtyard alone, and strolled around the Star Wilderness continent. Big pervert. Just as Murong Yu was strolling around the city, a somewhat surprised voice suddenly sounded behind him. Murong Yu was slightly surprised and turned around to look, just in time to see Lan bouncing towards him. Seeing Lan, Murong Yu thought of Lan Fenghua, and when he thought of that scene, he could not help but blush with shame. "Little girl, weren't you in seclusion in the family? Why are you here?" Murong Yu asked in confusion. Lan glared at Murong Yu in exasperation. "You idiot! How many years has it been? With my talent, I would have emerged from seclusion long ago. And I should be the one asking you that. Why have you appeared here?" "For fun," Murong Yu replied simply and forcefully. At the same time, a sliver of surprise appeared in his eyes as he looked at Lan. Lan's strength had actually increased to late over God. That was not slow at all. Seeing the surprise in Murong Yu's eyes, Lan raised her proud little head complacently, like a lofty phoenix. "My talent is unbelievable. I've already reached the peak of overgod." How did you surpass me again, big pervert?" Lan wanted to show off in front of Murong Yu, but then she discovered that Murong Yu's strength seemed to have reached the sky realm. She could not help but feel a little discouraged. Murong Yu could not help but find it funny. This little girl had the temperament of a child. "All right, your talent is unbelievable, but I'm even more unbelievable than you." "Ha!" Murong Yu laughed and turned around to leave. Lan snorted coldly and followed after him. "Why don't you have any experts protecting you? Is your father at ease leaving you alone in the star-desolate continent?" After walking for a while, Murong Yu still did not discover anyone secretly protecting Lan, so he could not help but ask, "My father is in the star-desolate city. Who dares to touch me?" Lan smiled complacently. "Did you come here because of the competition between the 4 academies?" Big pervert, you've actually been enlightened. You even know about this. Let me tell you a secret. This time, other than the student competition, the teachers of the 4 academies also have a competition. Moreover, countless clans from the 4 continents will come here to exchange and trade with each other. All right, Fan Tong, Sister Ouyang, and the others are also here. Should we go find them? Lan's original intention was to find Ouyang, Fei, and the others. Meeting Murong Yu was just an accident. Murong Yu nodded. He and Fan Tong had not seen each other for many years. "I still haven't told you. What are you doing here? I don't believe that you're here to play." Lan suddenly exclaimed on the way. "I'm here to help Primeval College get first place in the freshman competition." Murong Yu directly said, "What a big tone. You're really overestimating yourself." A cold snort was heard. It was not Lan, but a few people beside her. At this time, those people were looking at Murong Yu with disdain. Chapter 1017. Abyssal College bowed down to Primeval College and compensated Primeval College with countless resources. Even the 10 secret planes that were originally controlled by Abyssal College were given to Primeval College. From then on, Abyssal College lost the right to enter those secret planes forever. Overnight, this disappearance spread throughout the entire realm of the gods, and even within the Yao realm. Everyone knew about it. The secret planes and the compensation were all true. Many people had confirmed this matter, and even the reason for this matter was quickly spread. Hey, you guys don't know why Abyssal College bowed down to Primeval College, right? In a restaurant, someone said to the person next to him. Before he finished speaking, someone immediately sneered. Who doesn't know about this matter? The student that Primeval College focused on, the student who obtained the sacred artifact in the Yao realm, died in one of Abyssal College's secret planes. It said that Abyssal College's people wanted to kill Murong-Yu, but in the end, the secret plane collapsed. In the end, countless students of Abyssal College and Murong-Yu all died together. It's because of this that Primeval College was furious. At that time, the Bloody Butcher almost fought with Shura. Perhaps Abyssal College knew that they were in the wrong, so they decided to compensate like this. You're right. But do you really think that Abyssal College was afraid of Primeval College and didn't fight with the Bloody Butcher? With Shura's divine power, it's still a question of who would win and who would lose. Abyssal College didn't need to compromise at all. The first person to speak said coldly, "Yeah, even if Shura can't suppress the Bloody Butcher, he's definitely not weak. Why did Abyssal College give in?" Immediately, someone asked in confusion. Everyone in the restaurant looked at the first person who spoke with a puzzled look, seeing that everyone's eyes were focused on him. That person was secretly happy. After enjoying the feeling of being the center of attention, he slowly said, "Because Primeval College has someone more powerful than Shura and the Bloody Butcher." That person suppressed Shura without even making a move. Otherwise, do you really think that Abyssal College wouldn't dare to fall out with Primeval College? Isn't that nonsense? Who is that person? We all know that there must be an even more powerful existence from the Great Desolate Academy that suppressed the Heaven Desolate Academy. But who exactly is that person? Seeing that person keeping them in suspense, someone immediately scolded. Legend has it that that person has already reached the level of a saint and is extremely powerful. Who is that person? Stop keeping us in the dark. I hate people who keep us in suspense the most. Say it now. The people in the restaurant immediately exploded and were very dissatisfied. Some people even looked at the person who kept them in suspense with murderous looks. Feeling the anger of the crowd, the person who kept them in suspense suddenly changed his expression and said embarrassedly, "As for who it is, I don't know. But I heard that he's above the Bloody Butcher in terms of seniority. He's level of saint. F***CK. I feel like you just said a bunch of nonsense. I thought there was some big news. This bastard is too despicable. Throw him out." The people in the restaurant stood up with murderous looks and were about to throw the person out of the restaurant. Seeing that the situation was not good, this person immediately ran away with his tail between his legs, avoiding the scene of being thrown out. At the same time, the entire heavenly realm was in an uproar because of this. Who was it that made Abyssal College obediently compensate them? They were even thought to be subservient, but they didn't come out to clarify. Could it be that Primeval College really had a saint? Countless important figures from Savage Academy and Great Desolation Academy gathered together. All of them had solemn expressions as they discussed countermeasures. If Primeval College really had a saint, would the saint make a move on them? Would the saint directly suppress the two colleges and merge them with Primeval College? If there really was a saint, all the experts from the two colleges combined would not be a match for the saint. Even if they worked together, they were not qualified to be a match for the saint. They would only be slapped to death by the saint. We have to get to the bottom of this. The people from the two colleges began to focus on this matter. At this moment, the order to stop the war against the human race was passed down among the shifters. Most of the shifters who had come to the human race's territory had already retreated. Before figuring out whether Primeval College had a saint, the shifters stopped all activities. Otherwise, if they angered a saint-level expert, the saint-level expert could walk around their territory or slap the demon desolate continent a few times. Even if the demon race did not perish, they would suffer heavy casualties. Blood would flow like rivers and corpses would be everywhere. Was the person from Primeval College really a saint? No one knew. Who was it? No one knew. Or rather, those who knew didn't say it. Is that Murong-Yu's talent really that terrifying? He actually has a saint backing him. If I die, it'll be worth it. The students from Abyssal College were very angry at first. They felt that Abyssal College couldn't be so weak and couldn't give in. However, when they found out that there might be a saint in the Great Desolate Academy, their anger dissipated. If it was a quasi-saint, they felt that Abyssal College's quasi-saint might not be a match for those from Primeval College. However, if it was a saint, everyone in the divine world wouldn't be a match for him. Therefore, they felt that Abyssal College made the right choice to compensate Primeval College. Otherwise, they would all be killed. At the same time, they were even more envious of the dead Murong Yu. I heard that Murong Yu ascended from the mortal world and cultivated for less than 1,000,000 years. If you have such heaven-defying talent, the saint from Primeval College will definitely snatch you away and nurture you as a disciple. Someone sneered. I cultivated to the Heaven Monarch realm for more than 1,000,000 years. Damn it, you're not wrong, right? It took less than 100 eras to cultivate to the peak of the Heaven Monarch realm. Not 1,000,000 years? Someone immediately exclaimed. Ordinary Heaven Monarchs only had a lifespan of 1,000,000 eras. The person who exclaimed was at the mid-stage of the Heaven Monarch realm and had a lifespan of 10,000,000 eras. Presumably, it only took him a few 100,000 eras to break through to the early stage of the Heaven Monarch realm. He wasn't considered a genius in Abyssal College, but compared to the cultivators in the entire divine world, he was considered a genius. An ordinary genius. That's right, 1,000,000 years. Damn, 1,000,000 years, and it's not even 1,000,000 years. This kid is heaven-defying. He has a great chance of becoming a saint in the future. I think the saint from Primeval College said that because he thought that he had a chance of becoming a saint. If he really becomes a saint, doesn't that mean that Primeval College has two saints? Saints are immortal and indestructible. In the future, they will definitely suppress the other three colleges until we can't raise our heads. If Murong Yu was really killed by Abyssal College, then it's great that he died. The person suddenly laughed out loud. Are you crazy? Abyssal College will never admit to this. Otherwise, if the saint from Primeval College gets angry, all of us will be finished. Watch your mouth. The other person immediately scolded. The laughter stopped abruptly, and a look of fear appeared on his face. Then his body swayed, and he quickly left the place. He was afraid that he would be killed by the saint from Abyssal College. Primeval College. Murong, you shouldn't be dead yet. However, although his soul jade slip isn't completely shattered, there are many cracks. Xiang Sangwu looked at Murong Yu's soul jade slip with a gloomy face. The reason why Primeval College didn't destroy Abyssal College was because they knew that Murong Yu wasn't really dead. Otherwise, how could Abyssal College extinguish Primeval College's anger with just 10 secret planes and some compensation? Murong Yu's body is very strong, and he has a saint artifact on him. I'm afraid he's currently in the chaotic space. However, if he can't find the exit, he'll eventually die in the chaotic space. If Murong Yu is really dead, then let Abyssal College die with him. If it didn't have evil intentions, how could this have happened? The Bloody Butcher said with a murderous look. Everyone looked at Murong Yu's soul jade slip speechlessly, and they all had murderous looks on their faces. Dream Wasteland Continent, Shenzhen, Zhao, Jiqing, and the others all gathered in the main hall, and their faces were so gloomy that it seemed like water was about to drip out of them. I believe everyone has heard the news that's spread throughout the realm of the gods. Murong isn't dead, but he's in great danger. It's most likely because of Abyssal College. Even Primeval College hasn't done anything yet. Zhao Jiqing glanced at the people in the main hall and said in a low voice, Murong is in danger at any moment now, but our strength is too low. We can't help him at all. If something really happens to Murong Yu, we don't even have the ability to avenge him. Everyone here ascended from the mortal world to the immortal world and then to the realm of the gods. It's all because of Murong that we have today's strength. Sister-in-law, don't say any more. We all know that it's all because of little Yu that we can have this day. He's always been working hard outside, and we've only grown under his protection. He's always been the one working hard for us, but we haven't done anything. Li Feng stood up and said in a low voice, So, we must become stronger. We must do something. We must help little Yu. To put it bluntly, if something really happens to little Yu, we must avenge him and kill everyone in Abyssal College. Chapter 1018. While the divine realm was in an uproar, Murong Yu was still moving forward rapidly in the turbulent space. Maybe it was a year, or maybe it was billions of years, or countless eras. Murong Yu didn't know, because he couldn't feel the passage of time. In addition, the turbulent space around him didn't change for a long time. The exact same turbulent space made Murong Yu feel incomparably dry and lonely. Facing the same thing all day, even if Murong Yu's mental state was strong, he still felt incomparably bored. It was at this moment that Murong Yu truly felt what it meant to be lonely and desolate. In the past, even if he was in seclusion for 10,000 years, he wouldn't feel lonely, because at that time, he knew that he was still in the divine realm or other worlds. As long as he came out of seclusion, he would meet others. But now he was in the turbulent space. Where was the divine realm? Where were the other worlds? So much so that Murong Yu once wanted to enter the Hichu Luoshu world and fly there. However, he knew that it was impossible. Now, he kept flying forward. Although he didn't know when he would encounter a spatial crack and return to the divine realm or other worlds. But at least there was a chance. But if he returned to the Hichu Luoshu world, unless he was extremely lucky, he wouldn't encounter any other worlds. Time passed. Murong Yu kept flying. In the Hichu Luoshu world, the lightning divinity had already devoured more than half of the lightning core. This let Murong Yu know how long he had been drifting in the turbulent space. Originally, it was estimated that the lightning divinity would need 1,000 years to completely devour the lightning core. But now, it had devoured more than half of it. In other words, Murong Yu had been drifting in the turbulent space for 600 to 700 years. 600 to 700 years, if it was someone else, they would have died long ago, right? Murong Yu muttered in his heart. He was referring to those who had the ability to resist the strangulation of the turbulent space. But in the turbulent space, there wasn't any heaven and earth yuan qi for a martial artist to cultivate. Therefore, even if someone had a large amount of divine veins and other things that could replenish vitality, they would have been used up in 600 to 700 years. Murong Yu, on the other hand, had the Tree of Life. The roots of the Tree of Life had taken root in the void, and even in the primordial chaos itself, absorbing the power of primordial chaos. Therefore, no matter where Murong Yu appeared, he would not have to worry about exhausting all of his energy. Unless there was someone powerful enough to sever the billions of roots of the Tree of Life. The lightning divinity devoured more and more of the Thunderheart, and it was almost completely devoured. On this day, a huge ball-like crystal suddenly appeared in front of Murong Yu. This huge crystal ball emitted a faint white light, illuminating the dark, turbulent space, making it seem as if it was illuminated. An incomparably strong aura of life rushed over. This is a world. Seeing that crystal ball, Murong Yu, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly became excited. With a thought, he was about to rush toward the crystal ball. Wait! At this moment, Hichu suddenly shouted in Murong Yu's mind. Murong Yu immediately jumped in fright as he stopped in his tracks. A bad feeling welled up in his heart. Then he asked, Hichu, what's going on? That's the holy world. Hichu's serious voice sounded in Murong Yu's mind. The holy world? Murong Yu suddenly became excited. That was the holy world that only saints had the right to live in. If Murong Yu could enter the holy world, he could use the heaven and earth yuan qi to cultivate. And with all kinds of comprehension, he could rapidly increase his cultivation and directly break through to the saint realm. Moreover, even if he couldn't survive in the holy world, as long as he entered the holy world, he could directly teleport to the god realm or other worlds. Moreover, as long as he left the teleportation point in the holy world, he could directly go to the holy world without ascending. You can't enter the holy world. Not to mention the barrier of the holy world, you can't even pass through the chaotic space outside the holy world. As long as you get close, you will be torn to pieces by the spatial turbulence. Hichu said coldly. Murong Yu's brows furrowed slightly. His previous excitement had completely disappeared. Only then did he remember that the spatial turbulence outside the holy world was extremely terrifying. Even undead saints couldn't resist it. If he flew over rashly, he would probably be torn to pieces before he even got close. The reason why he didn't feel the even more terrifying, chaotic airflow now. This was because he was still a long distance away from the holy world. How big was the God realm? You couldn't describe it. In any case, it was extremely big, and the holy world was billions of times bigger than the God realm. It was such a huge world, but what he saw was only the size of a crystal ball. It was as big as the stars in the sky. One could imagine how far he was from the holy world. This distance, you probably couldn't reach it even if he flew for hundreds of millions of years. If people from the God realm ascended to the holy world, then is the God realm near the holy world? Since I can't enter the holy world, then as long as I find the God realm, can I go back? Yu's heart stirred. However, Hichu once again poured a bucket of cold water on him. People from the cultivation world also flew to the immortal world, but are the immortal world and the cultivation world nearby? Yu fell silent, because the immortal world and the cultivation world weren't together. If they were together, the cultivation world wouldn't be able to resist the spatial turbulence outside the immortal world and would be torn to pieces. Yu fell silent, because the immortal world and the cultivation world weren't together. If they were together, the cultivation world wouldn't be able to resist the spatial turbulence outside the immortal world and would be torn to pieces. Since the holy world is in front, then the God realm and other worlds naturally can't be nearby. They can only be in other places. Hichu continued. Yu nodded and immediately changed direction, flying in another direction. After flying for who knows how many years, on this day, the Hichu Luoshu suddenly exploded with lightning. Yu's heart stirred, and he immediately entered the Hichu Luoshu world. A godhead that was flickering with lightning was suspended in the void. Bolts of lightning were constantly emitting from it, shaking the surrounding void and shattering it. At the same time, Yu saw strands of lightning constantly penetrating the Hichu Luoshu outside the Hichu Luoshu, rushing straight to the godhead. It was like the life force absorbing the chaotic energy in the world. Yu was overjoyed. The lightning divinity had finally completely devoured the lightning core. With a thought, the lightning divinity turned into a streak of light and rushed into Yu's body, once again occupying his dantian. Immediately, strands of lightning quickly rushed into Yu's body. A sense of fullness rushed into Yu's body. At this moment, Yu felt his strength skyrocket. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.